switch up. Enough for I don't get it mixed up. I come in peace, kid. I'm bringing commentary. Says I put them hours in. Get play on expert lounge. I'ma destroy you when I'm down. If you ain't tuned into the channel, keep your head down. Cut the fix up. Some Xbox babies, put the switch up. See me gearing up for I don't get it mixed up. I'm bringing commentary and the new releases. I put them hours in to get prepared now. Play on expert level. Don't be scared now. When I'm forth, I can tell you ain't tuned into the channel. Keep your head down.
That fuck 'em up. I'ma do my stuff.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining The Fix. I'm Infinite Umbra. I'm joined here by my co-star, Daniel J. McGee.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, why did you say it like Dr. Hibbert off of The Simpsons? Hey, everybody.
That's how I'm feeling.
We are joined here by an all-star cast tonight, folks. We have our good brother Crusader back to join us.
Always good to be back.
Absolutely. We have fuzziest of them all, Fuzzy Belvedere.
What's up, everyone? Glad to be here with you guys.
And we have the one and only, the one bad mother. Shut your mouth.
Well, thank you for the invite. Looking forward to the group therapy session. So,
Right.
What a fucking mood.
Indeed. So I guess I'll start with the top and work our way down to us. So Crusader, brother, thank you for joining us. What have you been up to? And outside of the recent news, how are you?
So,
what have you been up? How have you been feeling? And I guess in gaming.
Besides being unhinged on Twitter for the past couple days, I have been playing a lot of Destiny 2, as I was last time I was on the show. For anyone who doesn't know, until until Final Shape drops, all of the expansions are free to play for everyone for the next month in the game, except for Lightfall, except for the newest expansion, which is free on PlayStation if you have PS Plus. Also, all 4 of the seasons from this year and their season passes are completely free, and you can just play all the seasonal activities and earn all the loot. Anything you earn, you'll get to keep, and you can keep using, even if you don't choose to elect to buy those expansions and things when the new year starts. So you get a cool exotic, you get a cool weapon, you can keep using it. So it's like kind of the perfect time to start playing. And I as a form of therapy for myself last night, I was carrying people through dungeons that they had never run and trying to get people some clears of some content that they might have imagined that they'd never been able to do. I was just teaching and having a great time with the Xbox community doing it on using the built-in LFG service
Very
that
nice.
Xbox has.
All right. So you were schooling them, huh?
Yep.
All right. Well, that's the way. That is the way.
Or putting them in my backpack.
Put them in your backpack.
You know,
Yeah.
put them in my backpack, carrying them.
There you go. And Fuzzy, what have you been up to, brother? And how have you been this week? And outside of the obvious news,
Yeah. I've been calm, other than, maybe a spicy post here or there. But for the most part, I've just been playing my usual rotation of games. A little bit of Undisputed, which is the boxing game that's on early access right now on PC. Hopefully coming to console next year or maybe later this year. But enjoying that. The career mode is awesome.
nice.
Bugs still as far as like the referee counts and the announcers and stuff like that, but overall the gameplay is awesome. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be looking forward to that when it hits console, but it's awesome even in early access right now for me. Then Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah.
Still doing the weekly thing, collecting the cars. Like I already had the Alfa Romeo, but wanted to get at least the Hyundai, I think it was, that they had for like the first 20 points, and then I got the drag strip Camaro for like the series for this month. Always, play that pretty much daily just to get points or get cars and whatnot. And then as far as like deeper gaming stuff, like I'm not really a grazer, but I'm like hopping from like Manor Lords, which just came to PC Game Pass.
Yeah.
I suck at it because it seems like it takes a bit longer than I think it probably should, even when you put it on fast motion for them to build the housing or log cabins and all that stuff kind of thing. But the stuff that I have so far has been pretty good, except for when the bandits steal stuff from me. But I gotta get my little militia up and make sure we stop that from happening, and then go back into Deathloop.
Is Manor? Let me ask you: is Manor Lords? Is it kind of like what's the name of that? Crusader Kings or something like that? Is it similar to that? Like, what would you describe it as if I had to describe it to me?
It's more of a city builder, but you do have a decent amount of control as far as assigning families to certain housing or certain jobs and tasks and things like that.
Okay.
So it's the city builder with a RTS kind of combat system that plays in later. Like, you want to build up the city, you want to upgrade things to the point where you have like a church and you have your own castle and stuff like that, or you may not even get to the castle part. You at least want to have the main town and town hall and all that, and then start having enough people set aside for like a little militia, and then having them work at like a blacksmith or an armory, so that way they can make the armor and all that stuff.
Okay.
I haven't quite gotten to that point yet.
Yeah.
Because it seems like I kind of stall out before you get there. It's like the people are running around and not doing anything, but I think I either fast forwarded too far and the people are pissed off at me or something at that point. But
Gotcha.
It's a slower burn, I think, than maybe some people might expect, but I think once I can get a few more things figured out or have them work smoother, it'll be probably a big time sink for me. But outside of that, Deathloop, went back to it. I think the main thing I'm doing now is just trying to get the gamer score stuff on Xbox. Like, I bought it day one when it came to PS5, played it to like just before I completed the loop. And then I was like, you know what, I'll get the 1,000 gamer score on Xbox, and then didn't touch it since until more recently. So I'm about halfway through now, and still enjoying it. I actually enjoyed it more than Ghostwire, but Ghostwire is another one I want to get back to on Xbox. Then there's just like I'm on the fence for Hades 2. Like, I'm really eyeing that right now.
I'm hyped for that.
Big fan of Hades, the original one. Read it until it came to Game Pass. Fell in love with the game. Bought the game even while it was still in Game Pass because I knew it wasn't going to stay there forever. And then I wound up buying it again on Steam. Like, it's great that while it was in Game Pass, I could play it on my Steam Deck. But that game, it's almost like perfect on Steam Deck. So it's like I need to have it on there. And I don't want to do the dual boot stuff just yet on the Steam Deck. If I had gotten a ROG Ally, it'd be a different story. It'd be a lot easier to have like the Microsoft stuff and the Steam stuff. But that's pretty much it.
All right, yeah, you sound like you've been really gaming, man. You've been gaming. But
Fine. I keep busy.
Yeah. And last, and as far as the guests, but not least, OBM, what have you been up to, my brother? And what have you been playing or watching?
Yeah, man. Everything's been going good. Everybody's healthy around here. Kids are good. So, I try not to let the drama get too wrapped up into that stuff, because a lot of it's, not our lives, right? So,
right.
You gotta stay focused on what's in front of you, man. But in terms of like the gaming, I've actually lately I've been in my comfort food mode with some of my just the usual, the Halo COD and Fallout 4 is kind of what's been rotating. So just the kind of games you can play while you're in a party and things like that. I go through my phases. There are times where I'll go through a bunch of indies or some story games where I have to be secluded from from all my friends and everything like that. But these
Yeah.
days, yeah, I'm in the mood to chat it up and just sort of go on autopilot and play the things that I'm really comfortable with. And Halo's feeling good these days. And in Fallout 4, I'm surprised because that one, out of all the BGS games, didn't stick with me. I didn't stick with it too long previously, but I think I'm getting up to like about 40 hours in or so, and I'm actually really, it's kind of clicked with me. So yeah, man, that's been going good, and that's it, man. I do have Hades downloaded. I have a bunch of stuff downloaded. My backlog is, if they didn't come out with another game for like the next 5 years, I probably maybe would get through my backlog. I don't know why. I just keep going back to the comfort food, but yeah, Hades is teed up there. No Rest for the Wicked is teed up there.
Have you played any of the No Rest for the Wicked yet?
I played a little bit of it. I like the feel of it. I did like the feel of the game overall, just kind of the heaviness of the combat, but I haven't gotten very far in it. It was more like I took a taste of it. So initial taste was good.
Okay. Crusader, did I press something wrong on you? I think I did.
You sent me a DM, and I'm not sure what it's for.
I don't know what I did, but I was trying to adjust your volume.
Risket is saying he can barely hear me. What's up, Risket?
Yeah, see, that's why I was trying to adjust the volume because people were saying that it seems like kind of low. I hope I didn't say anything too crazy.
What, to me?
Yeah,
You just sent me a Discord invite to a
okay.
server that I have no idea what it is.
Okay, yeah, no, I think that's a friend invited one of these Discords I'm on, but I'm like, what the heck did I send him? Anyway, yeah, I'm trying to adjust you guys' volume because they said that it seems like you guys are kind of low.
Yeah.
So let me fiddle.
Listen, Risket, I think we all could use a Valium though, like just to relax.
Okay, I turned you all up.
Just relax, chill.
There we
Back.
go. Okay, so guys, let us know if the volume is better for you. Hopefully it is. Yeah. So look, Abdel and Ice Cold asked me. He said, "Is it true? Have you flipped?" I'm like, "What? No." And then Abdel said that in Dirt's, shout out to Derek Griggett. He said that the audience there was turned. The chat there was flipping against me, saying that I turned. Listen, it's very weird, and this is a discussion I think that needs to be had. We have an overabundance of overly sensitive people on any community, but I've noticed it's gotten worse with the Xbox community more and more. And I say that because the reason they're asking me if I had turned was simply because I posted a tweet saying, "Oh man, now we'll never get a Hi-Fi Rush 2 sad Tupac gif." And they're like, "Oh, you doom and gloom." I'm like, I can't be sad about this. I didn't say anything negative about Xbox or anything. I just, said that I won't get a sequel. And now people are like, "You don't know that." 9 times out of 10, we won't be getting a sequel to this game. And if we do, it's not going to be made by the original creators, right? So it might not even come out well. We don't know. I don't know that. I'm just saying that there's a lot of history with Microsoft where they don't use a lot of their IP. So that's my point I was saying. Now, hopefully I'm wrong. Maybe they will use that IP and do something with it. I hope they do. But even if that's the case, that should not garner a reaction of, "Oh, you doom and gloom." It's like, relax. It's okay for me to feel bad for 1 second. Now, if I'm like, "Oh, I'm giving up on Xbox. I'm done. Xbox is trash. Oh, I'm moving to Sony," then I can understand that type of reaction. But this dude came at me saying all types of crazy stuff, and I'm going to be honest with you. I took a dump on this dude's head. I'm not even going to lie to you. And I try not to typically get too far out of character like that because I try to keep it nice and PG at times.
Imagine being able to keep it PG.
At times, I try
could never.
to. I try to, man, but sometimes people really go too far and they say some stupid things, and sometimes I'm not as in control of myself as I possibly should be as well. So it's partly my fault, to be fair. But still, I think we have to learn to be calm. Not everything is somebody an affront to them turning against you, like we're in some secret society club or something like that, and that we can't voice any dissension or problems we have with the moves that Microsoft has made. It's okay to say, hey, this is not a move we agree with, without it having to be that you're trying to play up doom and gloom. So I do want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat, by the way. And if you guys have not done so, please hit the like button. Gray Monad, our mod, thank you, brother, for being here and holding us down as always. Silent Cypher, thank you for coming through, brother. And thank you for the well wishes for the show. K. Asante, my brother, thank you, of course, as well, for being here. Abdel, shout out. Talk that. You know what? Erican, what's up, brother? Who else did I see? Risk It, what's up, Risk It, for the biscuit? I saw a few other people. Ice Cold, of course. I said your name a minute ago. J, how do you say this brother's name? JFX88. JFX88. I'll just say that. How about that? Next Gen Nero, what's up, brother? If you guys have not checked it out, Nero is now on the podcast with Retri and our girl Red Dead Panda on Saturdays. What's up, Floodzilla? So make sure you give them a check out too. Teasy, what's up, brother? So, I'm not sure if some people lurking, but if you guys, again, if you're not done so, please hit the like button. Danny, what have you been up to, my brother, and what have you been playing or watching?
Not a ton, honestly. I've been still playing through Fallout 76. It's still not very good. We've finished the story of like the base game, if that makes sense. So like all of the content that existed at the time that the game launched or shortly thereafter, because I think there were a couple of updates that like added stuff before Wastelanders. We've done all of that now. So everything up until dropping a nuke, basically. And I've also done most of the stuff that was added in the Wastelanders update. So I'm in that story, you basically have to like choose between siding with the Raiders and siding with Foundation, which is like the settlers. So I've been siding with them because apparently you get a better reward. And I'm almost done with that as well. So I've made really big progress into finishing the story of this game, which is cool because I need to I need to be done with this game basically, because it's one of these things where like I'll play through it for like a couple hours and I'll be like, this is fine, this is good, and then something will happen where I'm like, why would you ever make this choice? Like, why are you doing this? Where it'll be like randomly I'll be like doing a quest line and then it'll end in some event where it's like, and now you have to fight this robot that has 1,000,000 health and you have to hit these 3 buttons while you're fighting it, and every time you hit one of the buttons you add a condition to your character where you just slowly drain health. So you literally cannot do it by yourself,
right?
Because if you have all 3 of them, it does a certain amount of, I think, percentile damage to your health and you'll just die immediately, regardless of, even if you have somehow built a build where you're taking 0 damage from the boss itself. You can't do it.
What level are you now in
oh man, like 72.
I thought you were gonna say 70.
There.
I thought you were gonna say 76. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I'm getting close. I'm really getting close.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point where, because once you hit 50, you hit like sort of a soft level cap.
Yeah. Where
you still pick a card every time you level up, but you don't like upgrade one of your stats. You can still rearrange like all your special stats whenever you want. There's an item you can build in your camp, and they're spread across the world, where you just go in and move all your stuff around. And you can even save different builds where you can click between, like, on this one I want to be really good with shotguns, and on this one I want to be really good with melee weapons or whatever.
Right.
Which is pretty cool. I don't really use it much, but it's really cool. The problem is, so once you hit 50, you hit this soft level cap, and that means that the only way from that point where you can equip more cards is you have to get a legendary perk, and every couple So like at 50, you can get your first legendary perk, and then you can't get another one until 75. But you can upgrade your legendary perk as you're going, and you basically just have to like take your old, like the old cards that you used to upgrade and shred them to get points, and you get 2 for every card that you shred. And to fully upgrade a legendary perk, you need 200 of these like perk coins or whatever they call that currency. So you effectively have to throw 100 cards in the trash. You don't really get cards that fast. So I'm nearly 75, and I'm nowhere near being able to upgrade the final step of my first legendary perk. But those legendary perks, just like some of them are very useless, like most of them are useless. But then there's these ones that are just the special stats, where as you upgrade them, you can get like 5 extra points in each thing. And I feel like you basically almost mandatory have to get at least a couple of those, so you can upgrade enough cards to be able to be powerful enough to do like late game questing. So it's, I thought that once I hit 50, the grind would become just like unlocking more powerful weapons and just like getting the legendary mods or whatever. But it turns out that what it turned into is just like trying to level up as fast as possible to get cards to throw in the blender so that I can upgrade the one perk that actually matters at this point.
I see.
And it's become this really weird thing where like it's just like I don't even care what perk I get. Every 5 levels you get a card, or you get a pack that you open up to get cards, and it's like I don't even care what's in there, because every single time 4 of the 5 at least are going straight into the blender.
Yeah.
So I've been struggling through that,
Okay.
but we're getting close, almost done with it. And
Almost done.
the only other thing that I've done this week is the anime started for Kaiju number 8.
Oh, yeah.
It started a couple weeks ago, but it's a shonen, so I was waiting a couple episodes because
Let
I
it
know a
build
lot
up.
of shonen can like take a minute to get started. Like watching shonen week to week is rough because not a whole lot happens in every episode.
Right.
This one I feel like you could probably get away with it because so far it's only 4 episodes in, and it is really, really good.
Well, you were already reading the manga too, right? Though.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. I'm 9. I'm caught up on the volumes.
Yeah.
So the chapters have come out afterwards, but I've just been buying the volumes as I go, and I'm caught up on that. It's the first 9 volumes.
Nice. Do you guys?
Where we're at right
do any of you
now-
guys read manga or watch anime?
No.
Okay.
Wow.
I watch very specific ones, very mainstream normie
Well,
ones.
Okay.
Unless you count like Arkane or
Yeah.
Cyberpunk, yeah, I watched those. Those were good. Or what's the other one? Invincible. If you count those as
Well, Cyberpunk is
Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah. Cyberpunk. I would have possibly said Arcane, but definitely Cyberpunk.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, those are so I guess a little bit, but just the mainstream. I'm like the as casual mainstream whatever as you would be, I guess.
All right.
That's fine. So yeah, I guess for people who don't know, Kaiju number 8 is about this guy named Kafka who lives in a world that is fairly similar to like the Pacific Rim world, where these big monsters are just coming out of the ocean and causing problems. But in this world, they don't have like giant mech suits. Instead, what they have is they're like, in some ways, kind of doing like a Monster Hunter type thing, where they're like taking the like pieces from the kaijus who have come out that they've been able to kill and turning them into like weapons and armor for the people to wear. It doesn't have the same aesthetic as a Monster Hunter where it's all like very like unga bunga like knights and shit. It's more like it's more like almost sci-fi in the aesthetic of the gear that they're using.
Let me ask you guys now, do you have a hard stance, Danny and you guys, on what anime is? Because I have seen this before, because Abdel pointed out, he said he comes from the school of, if it ain't made in Japan, it ain't anime. What about you guys? Now, I say that to say, a lot of people look at Avatar and say that's an anime.
That's not an anime.
It's done in the style of it, for sure.
Right.
It's like anime inspired, but it's not an anime. Yeah, no,
See-
Or the
anime
Boondocks. They'll say that too.
Japanese thing.
Listen, you go to Japan and they will laugh at you because they consider American cartoons to also be anime.
Well,
so
yeah,
like
because for them,
like, it
anime
is-
just means
it's
like cartoon.
it's just a weird American thing that we use to describe someone else's work and that they are like, what do you mean? So I'm just kind of like, I don't care.
Yeah, whatever you guys
Yeah.
say it is, I'll go with it.
Opium was just like, whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree though. For me, it is very much like it is a thing that is from Japan.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of differences. It's like a cultural thing. Basically, the
That's
difference
fair.
for me is like if the default language of it is Japanese, then it's an anime. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna watch things for the most part in their original language because I feel like there's certain things that are lost in translation. Anime is certainly no secret to that. Like if you watch One Piece in the Japanese version and then you watch it in English,
Pales a comparison.
it's not a different story,
Yeah.
but a lot of the tone gets changed in a lot of scenes in like a more goofy way. And
It
I'm like, this
does.
is not.
And this part should be serious. I know
is.
exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
The anime dub rather is far superior in most cases. Let me ask you. Well, sorry. Did you have another thing that you would have been up to?
No, I was just gonna, say, hey, it's Kaiju number 8 is really good. I highly recommend it. I still think the manga is better personally, but maybe that's just because I've gotten further into it, and so it's had more time to like show itself off. The anime is fantastic, though. It has a weird thing going on with its OP and EP, where its OP, I'm pretty sure, is done by Imagine Dragons, and its EP is done by One Republic. So it's this very like
nice westernized
Japanese
kind
ass
of
game, like yeah. But even in the Japanese version, those are still the opening and closing of it.
Is it?
So
I
for
could-
them, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
wow, is this what it's like for you guys all the time? Where like you don't really know what they're saying, but you're having a bop with the music anyway because it's really good. And you're like, yeah,
I can see Imagine Dragons doing that. Matter of fact, didn't they do the music for Arkane? Right? Yeah, that's them.
yeah, they did.
Yeah, I love that song on Arkane.
They did Enemy, I think it was called.
Yeah,
They did
right. How does it
They
go?
did a song for one of the League of Legends like tournaments.
Did they?
Yeah,
Okay.
it may have been the same song because Arkane is a League of Legends.
It's not. This was way before. This was like while I was in high school. Like,
Well,
Um,
they've got their feet in League then.
Yeah.
They are the second official band of League, I guess, because they're still the one that's like made of the voice actors of some of the characters.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. As far as myself, I have still been on Stellar Yams, still getting through that. I'm actually at the end of it. So, literally at the end of that. So I got to finish that up. I feel like I've kind of been inside of not inside. I've been a bit of a gaming downtime, I guess. I haven't really
Like a slump.
something like that where I haven't felt like, man, I got to play something. I haven't really felt it. And I think this latest news kind of put a bit of a damper on it too, just to say. So yeah, I wonder, but yeah, I haven't really played anything, man. I haven't been on Xbox like I usually am. I have to get on that and meet up with some friends and stuff. I have been kind of neglecting. I'm sure they think we're not friends anymore, but yeah, so.
And they're right.
Yeah, you're right. Other than that, man, that's really it. I can't even. I'm trying to think of anything else I've been up to. Well, obviously, I was highly entrenched in the Kendrick Lamar versus Drake battle. Being a hip hop head myself, that really reinvigorated me. So, really loved that. The whole world was swept up in that one. So that was really good. That kept me really occupied too. But other than that, that's really it for me. I wanted to read this. We're going to move to the news roundup. I was going to read this one here, Danny, then I'll let you take care of the rest.
Yeah.
So we had some real interesting breaking news. I'm not sure if everybody has seen this just yet, but it was shared by our brother Alan Feely, a.k.a. Idle Sloth. Breaking: Xbox is going to open a mobile game store in July. Sarah Bond, that is, says that the store is launching on the web versus an app, so it's accessible across all devices, all countries, no matter what, independent of the policies of closed ecosystem stores. Sarah Bond announced that the store will launch with Microsoft's own games, including Crush Saga, should I say. Later, Microsoft plans to open the store to other publishers. What's your guys' thoughts about that one? Excited?
I don't fucking care. Six people
Yeah,
are going to use it just like Epic Games. Like, I don't. What a waste of money that could have gone to, like, I don't know, fund a fucking Japanese studio that made a fucking world-class game. Sorry, I'm done now.
Ooh, too soon.
Yeah, it's
You're right.
I know that it's like a completely unrelated thing because obviously them opening up this storefront is not the same pool of money really that they're using for that. But yeah, it definitely does feel like, hey, you're going in a direction I don't care about at all, and I understand it's going to make you money, but like I don't care. Like full stop, I don't care. I'm sorry.
See, you all calling me doom and gloom. I sound like the bright positive one now, right?
If this was, oh yeah, no, you're absolutely gonna sound like the bright positive one in this episode. If this was if this was announced and the closure hadn't happened, I'd be like, awesome, we're shitting on Apple right now.
Yeah.
I love this.
Right.
I still probably wouldn't care, but yes.
I could have no joy in that. Well, because I really want the concept of closed ecosystems, including the consoles, to kind of go away and just let people put their storefronts on things. I think it's much better for technology when that happens. And I'd be celebrating this, but I just don't give a fucking two fucking shits. They're going to abandon it in 2 years when it's not successful after trying like nothing.
I mean,
Google it.
but it's a lot of possibilities, though, right? You guys not excited about this? What's going on here?
I could be. It's hard to be excited about anything Microsoft does.
Yeah, I mean,
I do think it is a timing thing, right? Because
It is, absolutely is.
Because I could see, like, right now where it's at, does it mean anything to me? No. I've talked in the past. I think there is potential to kind of merge the core gamer with the casual gamer, especially with Game Pass. And like, yeah, if they could ever figure out this mobile thing, it does open up opportunities where, somebody could be getting achievements on their mobile phone, doing something that's maybe, there is games that we do play on, console and PC that probably would translate well over to a mobile device, and they could have a casual section on Game Pass with games like a Balatro or something. Like there is those types of things that I think kind of work across all platforms. And so like long term, is there potential? Yes. But I also kind of like, to Crusader's point, and this might go to the other topic, depending on who's running things. If you don't understand consumers, developers, or the industry, and you got people in charge that don't have that understanding, they're probably not going to succeed because it is going to be a hard thing. So that's, I think a lot of what's happened this week kind of dampens a lot of the enthusiasm or optimism, maybe, like, because I can picture things being quite different in the world in 5 to 10 years, especially
almost
in
certainly.
game. Yeah, like we can see technologies changing things fast, and so I don't like to bottle myself or paint myself in a corner and say, I'm this type of gamer, so this will never apply to me. I think you're going to see a lot of things converge over the next 5 years or so.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm kind of interested. Like, I'm curious more than I am excited. I'm curious to see what you're going to do. But as of today, with what they're doing today,
It's not.
I could give a shit.
Yeah. It's for me, because I totally understand that feeling of like, this isn't helping their current situation. Like, I understand that feeling completely.
Right.
For me, it's less that like the news of all the closures and stuff that they've done is dampening this for me, and more just like, this for me is like during COVID, when like your friend would come up to you, or not come up to you because they couldn't, but they'd text you or whatever, and they'd be like, hey, so I got really into making bread, and you'd be like, cool, so anyway. Like, this is just so unrelated to anything that I care about at all, but I'm just like, that's great. Like, this to me is
Are you
almost
friends
the
with
same.
Blackley? I'm just sorry.
No.
I wish. I genuinely wish.
I actually don't think I've ever spoken to him. But it's like For me, this is on the same level as if they were like, "We've added this new feature to Word." I'd be like, "Cool." Like I'll use that maybe. I don't know.
Well, I think obviously the recent news is putting a bit of a damper on it for us. But I would say
Yeah.
if they can really build this into something special, I mean, it's possible for them to build this into something special. If they're going to try to rival Apple and Google, so I'm just interested in seeing how much they're going to put into this to really get it out there. You know what I mean? That's what I would
If
say.
it's not, they have to get it native. If it's not native on the devices, shit, no one's gonna use it.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean,
No one's
the
gonna
web-
go out and Google shit. People barely want to install Epic Game Store on PC to get games that are not on Steam. Like, I'm looking at this and like, the average user that's buying mobile games isn't going to know this exists and isn't going to install it.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they'd have
the
to
whole
have. Yeah, go ahead, Fuzzy.
I was going to say the whole web thing, the web link thing, I guess is their only real workaround without having to worry about Apple doing the bare minimum to allow this to happen. We already saw them fighting with Epic as far as them, making it even extra hard for them, even after the CMA or whatever, or the EU ruling that they had to do this. So it feels like it has potential, but it feels like a weird approach to some extent without having it tied into the already existing Xbox app or the already existing Game Pass app, which I really wish they could find a way to merge those, but I understand because of the whole store fiasco, that's probably part of the reason why you can't buy an Xbox game on your phone kind of thing. But I hope they come up with a cohesive idea that works, like whether it's mobile, and then maybe if and when we get this handheld, it's accessible as well, and you can still use some of those games on that handheld as well. Why it needs to not be just limited to the phones, and to some extent, just so this has that carry over to the next device, because they want to be on every screen. And if I go from my phone to my TV and this isn't readily available, although some TVs have browsers and stuff, I want to make sure that works there. And then if I pick up their handheld, it's there as well. So got to figure out a way to get all of their stores somewhat unified, or at least linked to one another to make this work, or at least give it a fair shot.
And I do think that's where they're going, or I think that's where they want to go. And I think that's the thing to be excited about, is the potential of an ecosystem where, the things you buy on the Xbox work on your PC if you upgrade to a PC down the road, that work on a handheld, that and the type of titles that would work locally on a mobile device, will just show up there in that same store. Like, I think that's kind of like the thing that could be exciting to, so yeah, like there's potential in this. I guess is go back to that. It's just are they going to execute? An execution, because we're going to talk about this a lot today, I think. Well, maybe me or this is where my mind is at. Is like, you can have a great vision. And that's part of it, right? It all starts with a great vision and inspiring people to get behind that vision.
Right.
At some point, though, you need somebody who can organize and manage things and actually execute. And the best vision in the world, the best gameplay, like, you could have the best coach in the world, but if he doesn't have good players, it doesn't matter. That's right. True. So, or if he doesn't, or you could have the opposite. You can have best players and a coach doesn't know what the
that's
F he's
true
doing.
As well. Yeah.
Leads
you to ruin. That's interesting you put it that way, because I do have some questions on that later. Specifically,
we'll get to
that. I was going to say one thing to this last thing I'll say, and I'll let you go ahead and do your thing. With this being an app that they'll have that you can access through the net, to me, that lends itself further to that theory that we'll have this virtual machine, freestyle kind of system going forward in the next gen, where other devices that rock the UI that they'll allow through the virtual machine and will allow this kind of free-form style of access to anything Microsoft. That's what it seems like. It seems like they're kind of going that direction, and with everything when it goes to that. But Danny, sorry, go ahead, please. Somebody disconnected.
I still here? Hello?
Oh,
Yeah,
We're all
I-
still
Yeah,
here.
You started breaking up for a second there.
Did I?
Umbra. I don't know what that is.
oh. Okay, yeah.
You're
Sorry
good
about
now, but for just a second.
that. Oh, yeah. You're good to go. As far I don't know what the heck that was, but it sounded like somebody disconnected or something.
Oh yeah, I don't know. So I don't have a ton, honestly, in the rundown. There wasn't a lot of news this week other than the big one.
Yeah.
But the few things that did happen, I think, are all worthy of a pretty big chunk of conversation here. Number one is to get a little positive news out there. Capcom is on their seventh straight year of record profits.
Nice.
They're doing really good. They're like change of direction since starting like all of their remakes and remasters for the Resident Evil stuff has been going really well for them. Basically, this year's success was fueled on the back of the Resident Evil 4 remake, the obviously new Street Fighter, and now Dragon's Dogma have all been doing very well for them. And I know it's like a Japanese thing, but at the same time that they're doing all this, they've also been increasing the base pay rate for all of their employees, which I think Sega did as well. I'm pretty sure it's just like a Japan thing that happened recently. But they did do it. So, shout out to Capcom for doing the thing and doing it right.
Yeah, shout out to Capcom, and I think you are right. I think that is a Japanese. I think it's law, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember reading that
something
before.
happened.
Yeah,
I'm not going to pretend to know Japanese law, but it has happened like in a widespread way in Japan to the point where I'm pretty sure it is a law.
Yeah, I remember because I remember we covered this before when it was Sega or whomever it was that did it, and I believe that was the case. They were saying it's like a law that they have to give them a specific kind of pay rate raise or something like that. What's up, Lucius? Let me read this before you go further. Shout out to my brother Dante, aka Spriggan113. He drops a generous $19.99 donation to us. He says, "Working preventing me from staying live, but salute to my brother in the panel." Thank you, brother. We appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you for showing up.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, and Kay said Nintendo did it as well. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we covered that. If I'm not mistaken, we talked about that. So I think it's a law that they have to do.
We
that.
did, yeah.
Yeah. But what else did we have?
Was keeping it in the Japan sector in the Nintendo way. The Switch 2 specs have leaked from a lot of different places. They're being considered very airtight on what these leaks are. On top of that, they've also officially announced in like a blog post that they are going to announce the successor to the Switch 2 at some point in this fiscal year. So before March of next year, they will know what the next Switch is. It's
So
weird
it
to
was
be like,
during
we're
their
gonna announce
earnings call.
something.
It was during their earnings call for the year. That was to set up the entire next year. And so they wanted to set up with their investors saying that, hey, we're going to announce more hardware this year. And
That's
the reason
fair.
why everyone else found out about it is because, well, it's going to be at that investors call. There's going to be reports. So
Because
they
we
want to be the one to
always
break
know.
the story.
Yeah,
Well, because the investors' reports, anyone can listen to. You just,
True.
with the Japanese
But,
ones,
like-
you need to be able to understand Japanese.
yeah, that's why I kind of feel like maybe they should have said something beforehand in like a more official way. But they're
So,
also Nintendo, so they don't have to. It doesn't matter.
They did it basically at the same time. There was like three options. They could either do it on their social media where like everyone would see it and it would generate a ton of hype and a ton of
Yeah.
news. Or they could do it in a weird press blog on Nintendo.com that would be really boring and like really corporate. And
Yeah,
So
Nintendo is very boring and corporate sometimes.
100%.
But like
yeah,
I think
what
they
I'm saying
wanted
is-
the news.
Yeah, no, I feel you, and you're right. And and again, it doesn't matter because it's Nintendo. They're gonna sell
Yeah.
5 billion, whatever.
true.
It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, like, for me, I think it would have been more interesting if they did, like, basically what Xbox did, where when they announced the new hardware, they were just like, here's a video where you can't actually see the thing, but like, here it is, there it is. And it's just like,
Silhouette or something. Is that?
yeah, just do like you don't even need to show the silhouette. Just do like a sexy car commercial for this thing, and then be like, more news soon or whatever.
All right, stay tuned.
Like that's fine. But to get into the specs of the Switch 2, which is what I'm going to call it, hopefully it's called the Super Switch. That's what I'm putting my money in that camp of.
I hope. I'm hoping it's that too
Um,
because it sounds dope. And it's
so
nostalgic.
all the specs came out for it, and I'm not going to read all of the numbers for it because, like Black Ops, I don't know what the numbers mean.
Yeah.
But fortunately, somebody has broken it down in a way that makes more sense to the common man, the me man. And basically what they've said is when it's in handheld mode, it's going to be a little bit stronger than a PS4, and when it's docked, it's going to be a little bit stronger than a PS4 Pro. So that's a pretty easy way to just think about it. Is like that's when you take it handheld, you're going to be carrying a PS4 around with you, which is kind of cool to think of.
Yeah.
They also claim
Yeah,
that
I
it's
don't
also and it says and a Series S before DLSS.
Yeah, it's
in
they're saying
between
it's
the two.
between a PS4 Pro and a Series S.
Okay.
And
So-
it should be noted that that is without DLSS being factored
Yeah.
in, like performance-wise.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know what DLSS is, it is an AI algorithm, not the bad kind, that it runs off of tensor cores that NVIDIA has in their graphics cards, and improves performance by upscaling a lower resolution image to a higher one, with like a fraction of what it would take to render at that higher resolution.
Well said. Yes, it stands for deep learning super sampling. So it's like you
Yeah.
said, an AI graphics technology that does that, which is dope. So it'll help in all those. I'm just surprised that it's in between a PS4 Pro, and I didn't expect them to kind of make that leap, but I guess it's been well past long enough for them to do it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it'll be just in time for like the next Xbox to start being announced. So it's going to
Right.
be one of those situations where it's
You'll-
like, oh, they finally caught up, and then within like 12 months they'll be back behind again.
Yeah.
But it is going to be a really cool thing, because a lot of the time what we see with Switch, even like what was it last year, they were just then getting the Arkham games ported over to Switch.
Mm-hmm.
So it is going to be this thing of like, we're going to continue getting news drops throughout the next generation or whatever, where it's going to be like the greatest hits are getting ported to Switch. Like at some point on the Switch 2, Baldur's Gate 3 is going to show up over there, and people are going to be like, oh my God, whoa.
Shout out to John Wolf and my brother John Wolf Lucius and Inked El Chapo. He said, "Deep learning Super Saiyan."
Oh no.
So,
Ultra Instinct Switch 2.
Right.
for the record, the Switch currently is based off of like a really old NVIDIA chipset, which I believe is either the 900 series or the 1000 series.
Mhm.
It's like really old. The new one is supposed to be based off of like the 3000 line, so the
Really?
Ampere line. It's like the 3080s, the 3090s, like that line of NVIDIA chipset. And so like that's really cool. It might even be the last I had heard is it was going to be based off of Ampere, but this one I haven't actually looked at the leak specs, but if it's
It says
based off
that.
of
It says Ampere.
it says based off of
architecture.
Ampere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then like that's really good. It's not gonna have like the best version of DLSS that you could imagine. It doesn't have like the super fancy one that the new 40 series cards have.
Mhm.
But like,
Frame gen.
yeah, well, not just that. It's just like the algorithm itself is just so much more efficient on the 4090 series, just like with how it generates stuff. But like,
Yeah.
that's why you're seeing this massive step up, because you're jumping like multiple generations of NVIDIA technology,
Now,
and that's really cool.
Lucius, who is our resident, one of our resident techies, he knows a lot of, well, not a bit. He knows a lot about, PCs and things of that nature, and a lot of these technologies. He says 900 series.
Yeah, okay. So it was it was like the most common card today on the market is, I believe, the 6 GB 1060 from NVIDIA. So this is older than this is like older than dirt. Like this is like from like, we're talking like, I think like 2012, 2013 era, maybe even before that for the 900 series is what the Switch's chip is based on.
Mm-hmm.
For the record, like the consoles, the PlayStation and the Xbox are now 2 generations of AMD hardware behind.
Really?
They're Zen 1, or actually, they might be 3. They're either Zen 1 or Zen 2, and Zen 4 is out, with Zen 5 maybe coming out soon.
I wonder if they'll correct that in the next gen. Also too.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
Yeah. So by the time we hit next gen for this will be what, considered like 2 gens behind then?
Yeah, and that's really normal. Like that is really normal. Though what's really cool about these hardware is that they came out a little bit stronger than one would expect in the console generation. So they've actually lasted with comparable pricing to PCs at the same spec. Like you have to buy used parts if you want to match the price right now.
Right.
Which is really impressive this far into the generation. Really impressive that the PlayStation and Xbox have done that.
Especially
like the
since they
Switch,
haven't really dropped their
yeah.
prices like much at
Right.
all.
How much of it you
but,
think
like-
is the subsidies aspect of it?
What do you mean?
Like where they take
so-
a bit of a loss, or the stuff that they eat as far as until you start buying the software or the subscription and stuff.
So PlayStation doesn't do that. The PS5 hardware was profitable since the first 6 months.
Mm.
As reported in their earning reports. A bit of it is that I do think that a lot of it has to do with a lot of like GPU prices and things jumping up because of both the crypto craze, then followed by the AI craze.
Mm-hmm.
Because GPUs are used for almost all of the math. Because GPUs are very like everyone thinks that you need to do graphics on them, but they're very, very, very good at doing a lot of simple math very quickly. And so when you're just running a bunch of mathematical algorithms for like AI algorithms and things like that, they become very, very efficient to offload the mathematics to it. And I think the big reason is like other things in tech are causing hardware to jump. Also, NVIDIA has like a monopoly on the GPU space, essentially, because AMD doesn't compete well. And they kind of have just increased their prices for no reason. Because they can.
Okay. I was just checking out this Sarah Bond interview with
The thing I
Bloomberg.
sent you?
Yeah, thank you, by the way. So it pretty much was like a non-answer. She just said is the metric for whatever each studio's game gives is different. So it's not really, it's just really corporal speak. It's no real.
Yeah, she wasn't going to give a real answer.
Right.
She's
They
stammering the
everyone-
whole way through it. Like she's making up an answer on the fly.
Yeah.
I think Bloomberg caught her really off guard with that question.
Yeah,
For
definitely
context for everyone
didn't answer it. Yeah.
listening, I linked a video to them of Sarah Bond answering a question about why did they close specifically like all the studios, but they specifically named Tango GameWorks with like their successes, and she stammers the whole way through the question, giving a complete non-answer.
I think it just points to, and I have a question about this later too, because it just seems to point.
We'll get into it more later.
Yeah, but it seemed to point to the fact that this whole metric of because we still don't really know what metrics matter now. That's part of the problem I think that we're in.
Yeah.
So, but
I don't think the studios know.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that
Yeah.
she can't answer that question is a really bad sign, because like she was 100% in the room where the decision to close
Right.
that
Yep.
studio was made.
Yep.
Like there's no shot that she wasn't.
True.
So the fact that she was in the room where that decision was made and cannot tell you why the decision was made is like, okay, so what happened?
The decision was made for them.
Well, I don't think it was. I think they just made a really stupid choice.
Mm.
They made the same mistake they made with Lionhead and said was a mistake.
Yeah.
Oh,
Who
yeah,
could've guessed?
we're definitely going to talk about history repeating itself, and it goes back before Lionhead, actually. But
Mhm.
Mm.
Sure.
You got OBM about to be a history teacher tonight. I like it. I love it.
Hey, Glass, so hopefully you got your notepads ready.
Yeah. We'll be quizzing you guys
Is there
on
a
this.
test?
Right.
So in other news, one of the other things I want to bring up here is Sea of Thieves is officially the best-selling digital PS5 game in Europe as of last month.
Wow.
So they're frankly crushing it. I don't think this is super surprising. I know that Rare in general is really popular in Europe, even though Xbox isn't. They've always sold well in Europe. Even frankly, their bad games have done surprisingly well over there.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's like a cultural thing where like this European studio just like speaks more to a European crowd. I suppose that makes sense. But also Sea of Thieves is just like a really good game now. So, you know, you love to see it. You love to see this team be successful.
Yeah, definitely. It's something to be said though, with our Hoove brothers and the press, because we see the review scores. Now, to be fair, Sea of Thieves is a much more complete game than it was when it launched on Xbox. But also, you see the comparative reviews versus what we had for that too. I think it was only like 4 or 5 reviews for the PlayStation, so it's kind of hard to compare. But it is funny to see that it's doing so well, and I say funny not in a serious way, but because it just kind of more further highlights how PlayStation fans, our Hoove brothers, will complain about Xbox games and trash them and shit on them, but very clearly they still like them, They just don't like to play it on Xbox. It's kind of bizarre in a way. But
Yeah.
Well, they didn't want the extra expense of buying that additional box if they don't already have it, and maybe their PC isn't up to the minimum spec or something. But
what?
Yeah,
They told me they had the highest end PCs though.
Oh yeah, where they play all their Xbox exclusives.
All right.
But yeah, it's funny to see how well it's doing. It's funny to see, even though it's only a handful of reviews for it on PlayStation, the difference in attitude. Now, I think there was one that's recently going back and updating it. A more recent update as far as like for something like for 76, not actually Sea of Thieves, but to have it where a game was judged on its state then and doesn't get like an update. Although I can understand some of these magazines or not magazines, but these websites probably don't have the manpower to stay on top of, we're going to do a re-review or, latest update or latest impressions, 2 years later. But
I think a lot of the bigger publications have started to realize that though. Fortunately, where these live service games, they change so much over time because they just, I don't know if they re-reviewed it or just like revisited it, but IGN just went back and did something with Fallout 76. I think kind of funny that, I mean, their review doesn't show up on Metacritic, but they went back and were talking about it again. So a lot of these publications are starting to do, I think it is exactly what you're saying, is like they just don't have the manpower because there's so many games coming out. And I mean, while all these closures and layoffs are happening in the studios of the games industry, they're also happening at these publications. So like IGN had a wave of layoffs not too long ago. I think they've actually had 2 in the last 2 years. So it's it is what it is to a certain extent. I think they're doing their best of going back, but at the same time it's like, they're not going to do it for every live service game, so it's probably just going to be like the biggest ones. When they're having a moment, they'll go back and basically, if it's SEO worthy, they'll go back and do it again.
Yeah. Okay.
One last thing I do want to say about the Sea of Thieves thing is, and this will probably roll into other topics, like based on the business update test, quote unquote test.
Yeah.
It's good to see it performing well because of what the other result might be otherwise. So I'll just leave it at that. Considering the other games, although Grounded, I don't know what the numbers are on that just yet, but Tenement and Hi-Fi didn't quite do as well in the test, I guess. And we see at least part of the result so far. So,
speaking of that, I wonder now what were the ulterior motives for putting something like Hi-Fi Rush over there? Was it to test and say, okay, this is to see if it'll survive, etc.? You know what I mean? Makes me
my
wonder.
honest assumption at this point is I don't think those two things are related. It really feels like these closures were just like a snap of the moment decision. I really really don't think that any part of this feels like it had forethought.
Now I'll say this that leads to your view might possibly be incorrect, is because of some things that were said after it happened, and I'm sure you guys know.
We got some words for the booty. But we got just 3 more quick news stories to get there. So
no longer like big booty, cannot lie.
Dude might be dumb. But so to get back on the that was a full on, that was like the meme laugh. That was that one guy with like the really crooked teeth. You know what I'm talking about? That was
I know what you're talking about.
That was a full body laugh. I don't even think that was worth that. I don't think I've ever gotten a laugh that funny out of anybody in my life.
Caught him by surprise.
Anyway, so I wanted to talk about the whole Helldivers situation, even though it's kind of, for the most part, resolved itself. We didn't get a chance to talk about it last week because it hadn't started yet. So I wanted to go into talking about that for just a little bit because I feel like it's an important conversation for us to have. So basically, as I'm sure everyone here knows, basically PlayStation was like, no, we were supposed to have PSN on that game. Like, you had to log into PSN when you logged in. We wanted that to be the case since launch. So we're going to make it so that's the case now. And I don't know if they ever actually put that functionality into place. Like there was a pop-up that happened and I think you could bypass it. But regardless, what that ended up meaning is that because PSN is not available in every country, a lot of the countries in which the game had been sold, it was going to become, or did become, inaccessible to 177 countries worth of people.
It is still
and
inaccessible.
it is still unlisted in all of those countries, despite
Yeah.
the fact that they have since backed down on it. The game has been negatively reviewed into dirt. I think it's coming back up now that they've walked it back. And on top of that, I think because the community manager was partially pushing for them to like, hey, tell Sony they're stupid. Like he has been let go, and the rumblings are that he was not the only person who was let go from that team.
That's unfortunate because they had he was a pretty good community manager, but it's
but so was the guy at Bungie and the people at Bungie, and so
that's true.
You know,
gotta be careful what you say. You know, you beholden to them. Like, why would you think that would be okay to say that? You got to be careful. But I'll say this: that's a crazy mess up for them to have that. But it's funny, because
it's also,
PC players showed them. Well, PC. I'm just saying, PC players showed them. Like they don't play that nonsense. And what were you gonna say?
Did you see? There's more to the story.
Oh, I'm sure
there's actually more than. So they are not going to be selling Ghost of Tsushima in those 177 regions either.
Because,
yeah,
that was announced today.
Yeah.
So basically, there's this. My feeling is, and for this exact reason, that the thing that they were talking about, where they're like, Arrowhead was supposed to have that in at launch, and tisk bad Arrowhead, like that was a huge lie, because we already know the Ghost of Tsushima thing now, where they're just not selling it in those countries. So I feel like if that was the case for Helldivers 2, they would have just never sold it in those countries anyway, and then we wouldn't have been running into these problems of huge amounts of refunds that Valve very happily granted.
So they were selling Ghost of Tsushima in all of those regions until today.
Or something?
The pre-orders until today. That was directly a response of this. Also, Helldivers did have the PSN requirement day one. They turned it off after only like 4 hours.
Well, they turned it off
because it was causing problems. It was causing massive problems. It was part of the problems that people were having connecting.
But I think also too they had the wording different that Sony tried to slip in there later and say,
but then even so, why were you able to, like, if it was supposed to be the case, why was that game ever even listed in the countries where you couldn't get PSN? You know what I mean?
That is a great question. Now,
that doesn't make sense to me.
Agreed.
Xbox does the same things with their games that you need in the other countries. The difference is, because it's always been mandatory and has never turned off, people can just refund it after figuring that out.
There you go.
Well, because it's this thing also where, because there was this whole thing where people were like, oh my god, I can't believe that people are complaining about this, because so many games these days need you to have an account, right? And that's true. The difference here is that it wasn't something where I bought a game, had played it for multiple months, and then could not play it anymore. Like, this is a new level of dumb. But so that's why this situation was significantly worse.
With the Ghost of Tsushima situation, it is because of the multiplayer modes, right? So why not just restrict access to the multiplayer over there and and let them sell the game?
Exactly.
Some people are like, because people are going to be like, well, I'm buying an incomplete game. And I'm like, well, okay, then, well, number one, it was added as a free update for the people who bought it in the first place. They didn't even know they were getting it. But like, even if that's the case, sell it for $10 cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. Sell it for slightly
regions.
cheaper. That's exactly a good point.
There's a billion answers to this, and it's truly baffling, because they're trading actual money for simply a number, right? It's not like a subscription service where you're trading less money up front for more money over time and potentially more customers. So you're making less per customer, but you have more customers and you make more overall. Like, that's the concept behind a subscription service and the trade-off. You're literally trading your sales and direct money for this for a account value. To try and get shareholders. Like, it doesn't make sense. I'm baffled by it.
You're trading hard money for the ability to collect information on the people buying the product, basically, is what it comes down to in my mind.
And the drawback is the collecting of information is kind of, I wouldn't say it's limited, but you don't have the infrastructure in place to really put it to use. Like, you're collecting this data and you don't have a way to remarket to these people, because until they have their own launcher or until they have their own store, knowing that they have this PlayStation game, and maybe they have a couple of PlayStation games, but see, the other ones don't have that required login, so they're not going to know if you own Spider-Man. They're not going to know if you own God of War to be
Right.
able to say, well, this guy purchases 3 games. Let me put these games as suggestions, or let me influence them by saying, well, you can get these skins because of your login for, God of War, because we know you have it. Oh, by the way, God of War Ragnarok is coming in this, time frame. Like all the stuff that they would really be able to leverage with that info isn't in place. So I was saying this before, and I know companies like to have their data in their own hard drives, but just extract the stuff from the Steam portal. Like, just mark them as
Yeah.
PlayStation players that are not in the platform.
Makes
At
sense.
least until you have a platform for them to wiggle around and buy stuff directly from, or log into, or collect
Right.
trophies from.
Because we know that they've been working on a PC storefront, right? So
Exactly. So, yeah, it is mind-boggling, but they're learning. Microsoft's been doing this for 10 plus years, almost 2 decades or whatever.
yeah,
They're going to learn the hard way, a little bit
more
by little
often than the easy way.
It's just like it's not like you're trying to sell something to a customer in a different way. You're just not selling it to people.
Yeah, you're just not
And
selling
like
it at
I
all.
can't imagine, and you have the full capability to sell it to them. Like it just what?
And I have already sold it to them.
Yeah, right. Like
They're returning it. like you're not making sales. You're making negative
Negative
sales.
sales.
Yeah.
Here's your
Doesn't
money
make
back. We
sense.
didn't want you to buy this since you're in this area. What?
Right. Your money is no good to us.
And then they're doing it because I don't know what's going on. We'll obviously get into this more later. I don't know what's going on in the industry lately. Where just like every executive has taken the stupid pill, but like
oh my God, it's
the
so
idea,
frustrating.
the idea that they would probably do that and then be like, Helldivers didn't meet expectations, and it's like, I wonder why. I wonder why. Had it met expectations at one point and then no longer did? I wonder what happened. Who could have done this? Tisk tisk. I guess we'll have to fire people.
Right.
Who could have done this wearing the hot dog suit?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Do we have any other
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
2 more. One's related to this Sony story. Sony stock is at like a multiple years low right now I think partially as a result of this, and also it's still falling because of their earlier this year report that they wouldn't have any first party titles until next year. But just as a tone setter for the conversation coming later of the entire industry doing very bad dumb things. Hey, PlayStation stock is at the lowest it has been in at least 2 years, and some people are reporting as many as a decade. So
Yeah, it's because of the believed merger with that they're going to acquire Paramount with a
that's a big
with
part
a
of
hedge
it,
fund.
but it had already been dropping from the from the
But-
top of the year where they said they weren't going to have any content and that they were planning on not selling as many consoles as they thought they would. Like,
Yeah, oh,
since
yeah.
then it's just been going like it
They-
looks like a slip and slide.
a
They backed out of that thing
significant
from
amount
India
of
as
the
well too.
That too, yeah.
yeah. A significant amount of the drop though is people is their actual like liquid cash is literally not they expect to not have it. So what makes some of their actual holdings are going to be gone, and a lot of people are reacting early to that concept that these holdings are going to be gone, so they're going to be trading less because it's expected that they will go through with this purchase. When like Microsoft went to buy Activision Blizzard, you don't notice that kind of thing because they have a $3 trillion market cap and it was only $80 billion, right?
Yeah.
They literally make that in 4 quarters.
Is a drop in a bucket.
It's a drop in a
So-
bucket for them. But this is like this Paramount purchase is like what? Like,
it's significant enough that they needed a
it-
partner in doing it, assuming
it's
that
like
it goes through.
20%
which
of
is
their
not
market cap.
guaranteed yet.
Yeah.
Right. It's like 25% of their market cap though. So like I'm not shocked that their
Yeah.
stock is going to go down.
It's a situation where if they were doing this without Apollo, that's the investment firm that they're going in with.
Yeah.
This wouldn't have been a cash deal. This would have been a situation where they would have had to like sell stock to CBS or whoever runs Paramount.
Yeah.
Um,
Not a low
So,
rate
yeah.
plan like Bungie.
yeah, they've got a lot of great plans going on. They've decided to buy a failing film division from Paramount to try and save their also failing film division.
Don't worry. They'll be taking the Halo show.
Oh, thank God. Now I can blame it on Sony.
I hope they cancel. Sorry.
What a mess. The only other news I have, it's not video game related, but I wanted to talk about it because I'm excited about it. We got a first look at the new Superman suit, and a lot of people are really mad about it, but I actually really like it.
You know, I feel a way about it, man. I won't lie to you.
I really like it.
Now-
People have been. Well, tell me what you don't like about it.
Well, one, I remember I told you about his name. I think he needs to come up with a new name. I'm just going to be honest with
David
you.
Corns, he can't change his name.
He
It's his
needs
real
to-
name. He's Clark Kent in the movie. That's all that
He
matters.
needs to change his name, damn it.
He's not changing his name.
Tell everybody
real name.
tell everybody in the audience his real name.
His name is David Cornsweat.
See?
I love that.
That is such a
It's
terrible
it's a
name.
normal- it's a name.
That is
It's
just
better than Matt Booty.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. No argument there. But so this is my thing. For one, I thought the suit looked way too MCU-ish. And what I mean by that is they put that weird padding on it. So
Oh yeah.
and so it looks awkward if you bend in a certain direction and it folds. And that's what it looks like on that picture. I think they could have presented a better picture to show off the suit.
I agree with that for sure.
Two, I didn't like the boots. I like Superman boots with the tip of the pointy tip in the shin, right in front of the shin. The way they have it is designed where it goes on the opposite side of the calves. I hate the way it looks. It looks like a little, I don't know. It looks weird. Also, too, the turtleneck. I don't like that. Give them. You look at Henry Cavill's and then look at his. It's like, okay.
Here, pull up the picture for the view.
You know what?
Watching at home.
Yeah. Now you go ahead and describe. I'll find a picture really quick. You describe your thoughts on it.
So it looks like it's largely based on the like New 52 suit. It looks like it's just a more sort of, I don't know, real world version of the New 52 suit, which is fine. It like, I don't think this is the most amazing suit in the world, and more to the point, I think that it's being presented in a pretty bad way, where like he doesn't vibe as Superman in the picture because of he's just like, he looks bummed. He's sitting down and he's just like pulling his boots on, and I'm like, this is not the vibe. But I'm looking at the actual suit, and I like it a lot. The lines on it, I agree, is maybe a bit much, but I think that there's certain things that work on a comic book page that obviously will never work in real life.
Yeah.
Where like having no detail, like not having those lines or whatever, or even if it was just the texture on a real suit,
too flat.
It would be very flat, and
Yeah.
also it would probably just look like he was wearing pajamas. We saw this with like older Supermen specifically,
Yeah.
where it looked really bad. So like I don't think it's perfect by any means, especially the presentation, but I'm looking at it and I really do think it looks good. I think that this is going to be a situation where I personally really like how the cape attaches. I like how it doesn't come all the way to the neck. I like that the neck doesn't have that like weird deep cutout that it has sometimes. I think that's good. The turtleneck I can take or leave. It's not like, I mean, we're calling it a turtleneck. It's not like really a turtleneck, but it does have a pretty high collar.
Yeah.
I don't like that it's dirty. Like that's a weird way to present it at first.
I
I'm
agree.
assuming when it's not dirty, it'll be brighter, because you can kind of see on the legs that it is a brighter color, but it just looks like he's taken some kind of like
Damage.
fire to the chest or something.
Mhm.
But whatever. It's for me, it's like a really solid 7 out of 10 suit, maybe an 8. Like I'm not in love with it, but I think he looks good in it. And some of the complaints I've been seeing about it, I think, are the stupidest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Where people are like, oh, he's putting on his shoes. What an effeminate pose to be in. And I'm like, how do you get dressed, dude? What do you do? What do you mean?
That
How do you
doesn't
put
look
your shoes-
feminine
how
at
do you put
all.
your shoes- Are you doing a backflip into your shoes? What are you doing? Or like,
I hate nerds so
Twitter was
much.
a mistake. The internet was a
I
mistake.
am a nerd.
It's so dumb. And then the one where your point to the wrinkles makes sense, but a lot of people are just like, I can't believe the suit doesn't fit because it has these wrinkles on it. And I'm like, no, the difference here is that this is a real suit that he's actually wearing, as opposed to what we see a lot of the time in the MCU lately. Not originally, but lately, where they don't actually make the suit. The dude's just in like a green screen thing, and they decide what it's going to look like later. And so they make it skin tight and it doesn't move right. And people have gotten, I think, so used to that they've forgotten how clothes work, which is a weird way to be, because like hey dude, while you're writing this, hopefully you're wearing clothes. Maybe look down, couple wrinkles in there. And he's of course completely bent over doing this, so like yeah, we should expect to see. I think that it looks like, for me, probably about the best that a guy who's wearing his underwear and fighting crime can look. I don't know at a certain point, comic book costumes just are never going to look right in live action. And to me, I really do feel like this is probably about as good as a Superman costume can look.
I mean, again, I look at the Henry Cavill ones, and I think that's probably a bit of a step up compared to this one.
I think he's just more handsome. I really do. I really just think it's because Henry's hotter.
It's his handsomeness that's carrying the suit. I agree with you there.
I think that might be at least part of it.
Yeah. What do you guys think? What you like the suit? It's on screen if you guys haven't looked.
It's all right. I get the Mr. Rogers vibe from the seating position.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird.
But outside of that, I don't think it's that bad. Like, but then again, I'm not the biggest comic book hero person. But
Okay.
overall, like the Henry Cavill one, as far as like it had more of like a sheen to it and stuff.
True.
But that's because he didn't get hit in the chest with whatever he got hit in the chest with. So,
whatever
so I think it's
this dude's been eating. I think
it's a good pick. Just bad. Like they at least preface it, like make it a video, and then that's the still you see afterwards. Like show that he got beamed with something.
Right.
I will say also, for some reason, Warner Brothers has a history of like the first reveal picture being dog shit, because the one for Henry Cavill's suit was also awful. I don't know if you remember it. He was like busting out of a bank vault, and he looked pissed and was also covered in dirt, and like the color on the suit was completely washed out. It looked like it was black. So like they just have this really bad history of being like, here's the new suit, doesn't it look awful? And then you actually get to the suit and it looks fine.
Yeah. Lucius points out, he says, y'all not going to talk about Vegeta fighting in the background.
Yeah,
it does look like a Final Flash.
I did want to bring that up because the edits of this picture have been hilarious, where it's like, why is he not out there already?
Right.
Super fast. He should have that suit on. There's been people who have been like editing it so that there's just like, he's just like on the farm pulling his boots on, and that looks better. There's been ones where like they've escalated the thing outside to be to the point where I don't know if I should say it. They've edited it. They've put in a certain September-based accident in the background a couple of times.
A September-based accident, you say?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
And
so like the edits have gone some places with this picture. Some very expected, some very wow, really? We're doing that? Okay, cool.
You know what? Looking at the color of that beam, it makes me think that's Brainiac. Is that the case?
Yeah. I don't know, because we haven't seen casting for a Brainiac, and there's been a lot of casting leaked out for this thing. The only villain that I can think of who's in it, I can look it up now. The only villain I know that's in it is Lex Luthor, so I don't know what that even is.
Yeah,
it could be, because another character who's in it is the engineer from the Authority, and she theoretically could maybe do something like that. I guess, but also she's technically a hero. Like she's more of like a Watchmen style, like anti-hero, will kill all kinds of people if she thinks maybe it'll be a good thing eventually.
Let's see.
Basically she's the Xbox of superheroes. And it could be her. Maybe she starts as a villain and then like turns good or something, but that's really the only thing
it could just be what, like Lucius said. Maybe it's Goku and Vegeta back there fighting it out.
Yeah, it's unrelated. Yeah. There's an anime convention in Metropolis at the time.
Yeah. Hey, I want to give a shout out to everybody that joined, everyone that joined recently. Shout out to Bushido. Hope you're doing better, brother. Good day to you as well. It's Timmy, my son. Welcome, sir. Lucius, I've said hello to you already. Arthur 1. Who else did we have join? Let me scroll down a bit. Doovy, what's up, brother? We have Knights of the Realm. He says, here we go. Another bunch of fake Xbox fans over here talking about studio closures, but can one of them tell you what happened to the Gears of War studio that made 1 and 3? Anybody want to answer this person? Cygnus.
Look, man, don't worry about it. Hey, I got bad news for you. If you think we've been hard on Xbox so far this episode, you may want to tune out now because it's not going up from here.
It's not getting better.
May I instead recommend you go back to one of the like dozen episodes in which we were talking mad smack on, I'm assuming PlayStation is the one you hate, because they've also done a lot of really stupid things, including closures, and we talked a lot of smack about them in those episodes. So if you just want to live in the bubble where we're only mad at those people instead of everyone who's costing people their jobs for literally no reason, there is a location for you to go, and it's those old videos. Please leave a comment when you get there.
I got a question. What's up with these guys? Like, for you, Knights, I've never seen you in our chat before, so welcome. I hope you kind of correct yourself a little bit, brother. We keep it kind of fair here, I would say. I think we're pretty fair. We don't jump to really harsh thoughts. I think we're very appropriate to the situation. That's one. Two, I would say, if you came to just to kind of hear like niceties about a bad situation, it's just not going to happen. You should get past this emotional response where you don't want to hear any bad news at all on a bad situation that just doesn't add up. Let me talk about, let me talk about gaming, like positive gaming moments I'm having while Xbox is actively selling off or at least getting rid of studios. I just don't think that makes logical sense.
To an extent, I get that feeling because my entire like podcast feed for the last couple days has just been like dozens of shows talking about the same thing, and the negativity does get to be a lot. So I've just not been listening to certain ones. I won't be offended if this is the one you choose not to listen to. Like, I get that negativity can be a lot to deal with, especially for something that you're personally upset with too, where you're like, because I doubt anyone's happy that like Tango's dead. No one's going like, oh wow,
right?
Go.
Well, you know what? There were
if there's
two particular
those
people who actually left at.
Those people need to eat my ass.
Anyway, I think Danny hit it on the head. Knights of the Realm. I get it. Like, some of you all can't stand hearing bad news. I am not that type of person. Like, I can deal with it, but I can understand, like, if you're having a overwhelming negativity, you could probably start feeling away. But you haven't even really entertained us, so why did you jump to such judgment before we actually get into it? Because we are probably about to make you mad. I'm just going to tell you right now.
It's not going up. I'm sorry.
So let me finish shouting everybody else. Cygnus, what's up, brother? Jam Fortnite, who said, he said, hello, Umbra, Daniel panel. X1 Gamer had a great take and video today on a gaming media negative reactionary outrage takes on Xbox. Also, ZeniMax CEO said they were about to be swamped and need the rework. Yeah, I saw a bit of that, Jam. I saw a bit of that online. Ninja Squirrel, what's up?
I don't know how much I believe that, though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll get into it because I did see some things, but I have some thoughts. And Dreadpool, what's up, brother? Fred Wright, what's up? And it's Finn. It says, well, Sarah Bond just said in the Bloomberg interview, excuse me, that all Xbox first-party games, including ABK and COD, will be on Game Pass day one. Did she now? I didn't hear that part. Boy, this will be interesting to see how it'll play out. I didn't hear that. It's Finn. That specific part. It's
probably in the same interview that we got the clips from. Umbra.
Yeah. I want to watch it, but please look, because it's hard to kind of watch it while I'm doing the show here. It's Finn, but thank you.
Minutes long. I'll watch it afterwards.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody. What's up, Dreadpool? So that was the last. Was this the last one, Danny?
That was the last. Yeah, that's the end of the rundown.
So we had a bit of a fun talk here with this Superman thing, guys, but we have a bit of a downturn on news to talk about, and that's, of course, the news of Xbox shutting down 4 Bethesda studios. I'm going to go to The Verge here. As you can see, Microsoft shuts down Bethesda studios behind Redfall and Hi-Fi Rush. And I'll just read this and we'll get into it. In an email sent this morning, head of Xbox Game Studios, Matt Booty, announced the closure of several game studios, including Redfall developer Arkane Austin, Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog Games, and more. According to the email, as first reported by IGN, Booty wrote the reason for the closures was due to a reprioritization of titles and resources. Some staff at the affected studios will be relocated, while others will be completely shut down. Redfall developer Arkane will close, with some members of the team joining other studios to work on projects across Bethesda, says Booty. Redfall's previous update will be its last, as Microsoft is ending all development on the game. Servers will remain online for players to enjoy, and we will provide make-good offers to players who purchase the Hero DLC, says Booty. Arkane, as you can see here, had a tweet up for it, and and they had obviously the dreaded black screen of death announcement.
Yeah. No, the Tango one was like 2 sentences.
Yeah, you can.
Tango one was fucking depressing.
And that one
Tango
was I was just about to say,
and
theirs was very depressing. You could tell that they had just heard the news the way they wrote it. You could, yeah, especially once you saw Johansson. He was shocked. He is just, his reply on Twitter was like, I'm at a loss for words. I don't know what to say. You could tell he had just recently heard the news.
Yeah.
And there it is right there, actually. Look at that. And I'm sure these were probably typed out by somebody at Microsoft, not even at these studios, probably.
Yeah, probably not.
So
It may have been at like the ZeniMax like overarching
makes sense. Yeah,
management entity.
makes sense. Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Gameworks is closing, and it doesn't appear that any members of the team will join other Bethesda. That's so crazy to me.
Yeah.
So much talent right there. Hi-Fi Rush will continue to be available to players on the platform it is today, says Booty. Hi-Fi Rush only just debuted on PS5 recently after receiving multiple accolades, award nominations, and critical praise. Aaron Greenberg, vice president of Xbox Games Marketing, wrote on X that Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout hit for us in all key measurements and expectations. Alpha Dog Games is the third studio closure today. The developers of the mobile Mighty Doom game. Mighty Doom will be sunset on August 7th and will be turning off the ability for players to make any purchases in game, says Booty. Microsoft is also moving the team at Roundhouse Studios into ZeniMax Online Studios to work more closely to the Elder Scrolls Online. It's unfortunate that Roundhouse is going there, but I will say at least they're not out of a job. That is the positive for them. Booty admits these changes will be disruptive to Bethesda as a whole. These changes, right?
You don't.
You will say it. What? These changes are not reflection of the creativity and skill of the talented individuals at these teams or the risks they took to try new things. I acknowledge that these changes are also disruptive to the various support teams across ZeniMax and Bethesda that bring our games to market. We are making these tough decisions to create capacity to increase investment in other parts of our portfolio and focus on our priority games.
Why the fuck is Hi-Fi Rush 2 not a priority fucking game?
See, when I hear that with priority games, we all should automatically know they mean games like Call of Duty.
They mean big games.
Yeah.
100%. Well, except maybe they don't, because then Matt Booty was like, we need small games. We need small games that are
very
that
confusing,
are not
right?
at all like Hi-Fi Rush. We
Yeah.
need small games that are very highly critically acclaimed.
Mixed messaging. We'll get to that in 1 second.
What a dickhead.
Bethesda remains one of the key pillars of Xbox with a strong portfolio of amazing games and thriving communities. As we look to the future, there is an impressive lineup of games on the horizon. In 2024 alone, we will have Starfield's Shattered Space, Fallout 76 Skyline Valley, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and the Elder Scrolls Online's Golden Road. As we align our plans and resources to best set ourselves up for success in this complex and changing industry, our teams across Arkane Lyon, Bethesda Game Studios, id Software, Machine Games, ZeniMax Online Studios, and the Bethesda Publishing and corporate teams will be well positioned to build new IP, explore new game concepts, and expand on our existing franchises. Earlier this year, Microsoft laid off 1,900 employees across Xbox Game Studios and the recently acquired Activision Blizzard. It is not known exactly how many employees are affected by today's closures, which add to what has been an almost continuous cadence of layoffs and closures within the video game industry for the last 18 months. Now, before we get to thoughts from you guys, there was one extra piece of nonsense, and that was this. Xbox removes Feel the Burn tagline for new controller after heavy criticism. On top of the layoffs and closures of these studios, of all days, how did this go out? And it was laid out and it said, Feel the Burn today with yet another special edition Xbox controller. How in the world did that go out?
It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's very, very stupid. It's this thing of just like, it feels so heavily of different sectors of Xbox just like not communicating at all, where like the hardware team or whatever that was pushing out this PR blast about this new controller probably didn't know that this was happening.
Right.
And actually, that's probably accurate because I don't think anyone knew this was happening. From the sounds of it, it really does seem like they went into a meeting, talked about what things to close, and then like 30 minutes later made the announcements that those things are going to be closed. Most of the employees, I'm sure, heard from Twitter. Like we probably heard at the same time as like Johannes, which is bullshit, but it is what it is. So yeah, probably that marketing department didn't know that this was going to happen, but you would think that they'd be like, hey guys, don't.
Right.
Just so that you know,
Yeah.
we're gonna go ahead and delete that
Cease.
tweet like immediately.
Right. So I want to go to the panel here, and so I want to get your raw thoughts on the whole situation, and then we'll go and like I said, I have questions for you guys on a whole. I guess I can kind of address it to you guys individually since it's already 8:31 for me. So we don't have a ton of time, and I'm not sure how much time you guys have. So we'll try to get through this as succinct as we can. I'll start with you, Crusader. What are your thoughts on this right here? And what were your raw thoughts? I guess I should say.
Usually, I can like piece something together, and it had like Tango not been included in this, I could have been like, all right, I kind of get it. They didn't release a good mobile game. They released Redfall, and they've only been a support studio since Xbox has had them. So let's turn them into a permanent support studio.
Right.
But nothing makes sense when you put Tango in the mix. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, Matt Booty made this comment about it being like too much butter over too little peanut butter over too much bread, right? Which is like a rip quote from Lord of the Rings. But he says this, and it's so instead of making it so that you're feeding your fans more and you're doing more cool things and you are making more long-term money, they're just gonna have us get less content because they can't manage the games that they purchased for billions of dollars correctly.
Can I also throw in a piece of information here that I think is really important to understanding, particularly that comment? Is also after they bought Blizzard, they did a whole restructuring of the leadership team over the games departments where they had like a guy in charge of Blizzard and a guy in charge of Bethesda. If they knew that they didn't have the management to cover a thing, which first of all, also, this is not the truth. Like, this is not the reason they closed it.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's saying this, but it's objectively not true. You could just put another guy over there. Like, if you needed somebody who could be like the guy in charge of the one Japanese studio or something, then like you can just do that. Hiring one person makes a lot more sense than firing like 300.
Yeah. Because like, listen, I get that like Embracer put themselves into a fucking shite position and couldn't afford to like hold their studios on. But it's not like Microsoft can't afford to continue to invest in just like getting this division to be on like all on the same page with like synergies and all kinds of great stuff, and like they're all working really great together and they have everything they need, and focusing on the mid to long term value. They have so much excess money that like I think you could drown my town in it, right? And it's just like, what are we doing here? Like, we're not all in on gaming, obviously, because we're all in on like money, and we're going to pillage gaming to do it. We're certainly not going to let the devs make what they want, because we have now turned a studio that hasn't even had a chance to make what they want into a permanent support studio for ESL. We're certainly not going to give games that have failed the chance to actually be right, like we said last year, at this almost exact same time when they were in crisis mode last year. Because, you know, Redfall is now closed, despite them, Jason Schreier reporting that they had plans for a massive update this summer, and the Hero Pass was supposed to launch with Halloween, which would have been cool. Would have been really cool. Maybe they could have pulled it off, but once again, just like Anthem, we'll never know if the studio could have pulled it off, right? And then, I mean, that's not Xbox's fault with Anthem, but it's the same principle. And then with Tango, obviously it's not good enough to make a game that can win several rewards, as the one creative director tweeted out, like, this is not enough. And like, how can it not be enough? They have made some incredible stuff. Like, even if you had to downsize Tango and you wanted to turn them into a studio that made these weird, creative, little, like, smaller games that, they cost a lot of money to make. Hi-Fi Rush took a lot of time. It cost a lot of money to make, but it didn't cost a AAA game's worth of money to make. It didn't have the staff of a AAA game to have to fund and keep that staff on. So why not downsize and have them focus into a slimmed, we are going to make Hi-Fi Rush 2. Like, I just don't understand. I cannot comprehend. And then Matt Booty says all this fucking dumb shit, and I'm not going to go on too much about him, but like, it's so mind-bogglingly stupid, and it made me want to vomit last night. Just like when more of it came out, I went in and started carrying people in Destiny through shit to try and put myself in a good mood, and I come out of a dungeon and I see the dumbest shit that my friend has sent me. And I was finally on board with some of the PlayStation stuff because one of my friends who only has a PlayStation, she got Hi-Fi Rush and she adored it. She played it. We've been talking about it in DMs all the time. And then I get a DM from her and she's like, "What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is wrong with this company?" I'm like, "Yeah, what the fuck is wrong with this company? I couldn't tell you. I don't understand a thing that they're doing."
Yeah.
And none of it makes sense.
Yeah. So that's your initial thoughts, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
Fuzzy, brother, what were your initial thoughts on this and like your reaction to it when you first heard this news?
Okay, so be careful what you ask for. That's probably the first thing that came to mind. And, looking back at things, everybody well, I won't say everybody, but myself and many others that I hang around love the whole Bethesda acquisition.
Yeah.
Rooted for it, aired it on, saw the potential, and hope for the best as far as long term and everything. And then the ABK thing came up, and I once again cheered it on, even put some money up and invested in whatnot. And,
man,
benefited from it. So I was all for it because I figured. I guess I didn't have the foresight, but I figured the vision that Phil had would be able to carry through, and the leash that he would probably be on, because I figured there would be some sort of leash or some sort of commitment time that he would have to meet, would be extended considering how long this thing dragged out. I should have known better. This is a $1 trillion company. They don't extend none. But I figured they would have seen the hard-fought road to get this, and now that they got it, so now you can hit the ground running with whatever the plan would have been if you had acquired it the year before, because it seemed like it almost dragged on an extra year longer than it should have, or even what they anticipated. And they anticipated something further out. That's why they had to do that little, like a 6-month extension or whatever it was type of deal. But looking back at it now, it just seems like that's been the poison pill.
Yeah.
I get it. Money people see, 60% growth, and without this, you're at 1% growth. Oh yeah, let's do more of whatever got that 60% and then throw the rest away. Or at least it seems that way, because it's setting an ugly precedent on a game that, yes, financially, it didn't meet, I guess, whatever internal expectations. But it doesn't seem like, based on Phil's words, that was really what the point was of that game. It would be more so the case for a Starfield, and it seemed like to some extent maybe even Redfall, but they were willing to stick with it, much like they helped, like even with Bethesda, they doubled down on 76, and Microsoft even kicked more funding to keep that thing going and make sure that they kept that alive, basically. So it seemed like there was some sort of padding or shielding that the whole Game Pass model had. And, bringing in something like Candy Crush and Diablo and WoW and Call of Duty would be your go-tos to kind of pad the rest. Almost like the whole funding aspect from the subscription model. Those subscriptions are going across all of your studios, evenly or however you want to distribute it. So that way, the smaller things that may keep people there or may keep people, occupied in between the bigger stuff, is always there, and you never have to worry about it. Like Pong says, you're building your moat. You got all your goods in this service, so everything kind of plays off of everything. Minecraft is going to still help fund those smaller projects to some extent. COD's going to fund those smaller projects or whatever. And closing of Tango, after you've spent so much time and effort from Xbox One gen all the way up to now, trying to get a little more of a foothold in that region. You're only at 1 or 2% as far as what you're reaching the potential customers out there. You're about to release a handheld, which would probably do a good bit better. May not be gangbusters where you're now at like 20%, the market share, but you might jump from 2% to 7%, and that would probably keep the big wigs happy enough at least for that attempt and the effort that you've put in.
Right.
But you closing the doors on a studio that you finally have that studio in that region and you close it.
Yeah.
I from what I understand, and I'm not a historian and I'm not like a psychologist or anything along those lines, but I do understand the Japanese culture to some extent is more traditional, and something like that is not taken lightly. Much like when even PlayStation closed, their Japan studio. So, and people were like, well, they still buy their games. Well, it's either that or Nintendo, and Nintendo is still kicking their butt there, like handedly. So, with the exception of a handful of certain games that still sell well from a PlayStation standpoint for that market, Nintendo is the king over there. But all of that aside, you close this studio. What do you think that's going to do for recruiting for future, or trying to court another studio? I mean, you might even now have Sega, and you just got this partnership with Square, or rekindle this partnership. What do you think they're looking at you like now? Like, you're obviously not committed. You said you were committed, but that closure shows you're not committed. And I know some people are spreading this rumor that, Shikam, or what's his name?
Mikami.
Shinji Mikami stole half the crew. No.
He didn't.
Look at the picture when they're there. Does it look like he stole half the crew? Now, yeah, he may have taken some, high, ranking people, but there was also another lady that left that studio too. So, and this happens at almost every studio you ever see. Like, there are very few studios where people are there 20 plus years.
Danny said he hopes he takes some now.
I hope he takes some of them now.
I mean,
there's a new studio opening.
Absolutely.
Up, and your old boss just opened it.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, I mean, Johannes, I hope he lands at
I hope
Mikami
so,
studio
too.
or the other lady studio, and because they're not going to retain him. If Xbox is not retaining him, then I wish him the best, and I hope he can carry out his vision on a game along the lines of Hi-Fi Rush, or the rumor that there was like an anime RPG that they were going to potentially work on.
Yeah.
But because they asked for, or they were doing their pitch for their next project, to get shuttered. Like, okay, let's put this in perspective. How many studios do you think are going to have to pitch something in the next year or so? Because let's think about this. That pitch is what would come after your starting lineup of, like, we're all under the impression the next gen is coming in 2026.
Right.
So now is the time that these studios need to start pitching for their second project. So that way you don't just have a great, starting lineup, but you also have things to fill in after that. So who's next? Like, if it wasn't for Indiana Jones, would Machine Games be on the chopping block? I mean, if we look at ZeniMax beforehand, they were going to be on the chopping block because Youngblood didn't do so well. And part of the whole thing with Redfall, that was another one of those things that they were trying to do as a Hail Mary along with 76 to kind of get more funding for the games as a service, or a game that they could, extend and do microtransactions and things like that. So what are we talking about as far as, like, if they're on the chopping block, then anybody can be on the table. And the thing that worries me, y'all know I'm a big racing fan. But let's look at Turn 10. Turn 10 used to be able to turn things out every 2 years. Now, last Motorsport, they built it from the ground up, right? It took a lot longer than expected. And the game was kind of rushed out. Like, if you're into the racing genre, yes, there are certain key things that game does beautifully. But if you compare it to Motorsport 7, it's a hot mess. It is a big hot mess. And the fact that if you're going to close Tango, is Turn 10 safe? I mean, yes, they have a tentpole franchise, but are they safe? Because Hi-Fi Rush had 4 million players. We never see the numbers on Forza, and I guarantee you this last one is not doing numbers. I guarantee you it's not doing numbers.
That's a good point. And, that did raise a lot of questions, because that's why we were talking about what is the metric. The metric they told us is that you having a good amount of players that come through and play it, and that's the success. Aaron Greenberg himself came out, said it met every metric. So what the hell is the metric, and what do they have to reach if that wasn't good enough? That they got that won awards, was nominated for awards, got nothing but great review scores and accolades. and yet they were still shuttered. It does not add up whatsoever, and that points to a very bad picture at other studios. Like, for instance, Ninja Theory.
Or even Ninja Theory. Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
keeps saying Ninja Theory, and I'm just like, it's
I'll
not
tell you
Ninja
why.
Theory people should
I
be
don't
crying
think it
about.
is
It's
Ninja
Double
Theory.
Fine.
I
Yeah,
said
Double
Double
Fine
Fine
is
as
the
well.
one you should
Double
be
Fine, yes.
scared for.
Double Fine is another. Compulsion, I would say even. But let's.
Yeah.
But I mentioned Ninja Theory. I don't think they would, obviously. But I'm just saying that because if you're going by the metrics of that, you're going to go by how many people play it, the impact, I guess, how much it sells. Because the thought wasn't at first about sales, right? It was about how many players is accumulated. Now this message here tells us, okay, we need sales now. So Game Pass, is Game Pass still, viable for that? Like, what's the message they're trying to send us? But I want to go to you, One Bad Mother, and get your thoughts on your initial thoughts, and I have some questions for you guys right after that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, like, it was interesting, Crusader. You were talking about like how you were struggling to rationalize it, and I think that is like one of the biggest keys here, and because it's so hard to rationalize this, like fit it into the narratives that they've been selling for the last really since Phil took over and Myerson left. The narratives they've been building since 2018, none of this really ties back to that. It doesn't, there's no way you can kind of like make those two things work together. So like whatever money they're saving by shuttering Tango, it's probably peanuts compared to the brand damage they're going to get from this. Like this feels like it was a decision made by somebody who doesn't have any understanding of the industry or audience, and that's why I think a lot of us are automatically, are assuming this is like probably coming from higher up, probably coming from the level of Tim Stewart, Amy Hood, or Satya, because it's like how could you have any, like, just taking you can just take somebody who's an enthusiast sitting out in this audience today, and I feel like they would have that understanding that like, hey, if we had to make content, we got to take a hit somewhere. This is probably one of the last places to take the hit, just because of the optics, the branding, and everything. And like, so the more I kind of stewed on it, is like that's the thing that really is the hardest to kind of get around and like figure out how I can, like rationalize going forward. Because even if, I expect they're going to probably have a really good show. They're going to probably have a pretty good lineup the next couple years. But the thing that Phil Spencer's been selling everybody for like since 2018 is this idea or this like dream where like, and this is like a dream he's been selling to the gaming enthusiasts, the people that stuck around with Xbox. This is where we're going to go, the media developers, and basically this dream of what this new Xbox and this Game Pass paradigm could be, not just for their customers, but what it could potentially do for the industry, where somebody like a Tango could find a lane, find a role in the industry, could have a fan base, could get accolades, where a game like that probably doesn't really work in the traditional model anymore. And and so like when Tango ended up hitting that game out of the park last year, I think that even though Microsoft had just been struggling with production, we know about 2022 and everything else, the fact that came out and was what it was, and it was a game that got some awards, and it was a game that the media liked, the enthusiasts liked, it kind of sent us back to like, Sega Dreamcast days and all this other stuff. The fact that it was all those things, it almost became like this poster child for the dream and the vision that Phil's been selling for a while, like getting up there with like that almost hippie energy, like, hey, this kumbaya, and we're going to allow creatives to be creative, and like he's been on record and people have been clipping the shit out of him over the last couple of days, and where he's said specifically, I don't want my developers to be afraid to take risks. We're going to make mistakes along the way, but you know what? That's how we're going to learn, and we're going to learn from that. And I want them, the creativity is like the lifeblood of the industry, and if we're afraid to take risks, it's it's really it's the industry, the health of the industry is at stake. It's not just Xbox, and that's what
Absolutely.
he's been selling. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of us here have been like and myself included, have been a Game Pass stan.
Yep.
Like I keep, there's a group out there that's like support the devs, and I'm like, it doesn't matter whether you support the devs or not. The industry trends are basically starting to they're trending away from buy to play $70 games. They just are. If you look at everything, the black hole games are taking a bigger piece of it. New generations of gamers do not believe in spending $70 for a thing that they can beat in 20 hours. And so that market is going to become more and more niche over the next decade, next 5 years, really even. And so when you look towards the future where things eventually are going to be streaming, once it does get there, it is going to be subscriptions. That is where you have the most opportunity. Maybe it isn't in gaming. Maybe the subscriptions never do ever convert enough people to be viable or whatever. But to me, that's always been the big hope. The hope that what you could do is you could lower the barriers, the risk taking to the consumer, right? The new consumer, the Generation Z and alphas that don't buy games,
Right.
They only play free to play. But you know what? You might be able to get them to spend $1 to do a trial, right? Or maybe even spend $10 or 50, whatever it's going to be.
Microtransactions and such.
Yeah. Yeah, like maybe you can get them, like maybe you release a zeitgeist thing on there and you get them to try it, and then they go, well, what's this? Now that I'm in this thing, what's this? That was the whole vision, right? You increase the appetite, and I do, and so what I think has happened, and this is just an assumption, and there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle that are out here that I think this is probably true. But as they went through the ABK trial, as they had involved Satya and Amy had to get on stand, these people had to learn about the game industry, they had to learn about what Xbox was doing, they had to hear about all these things, the challenges and all the other things that are going on. I think that not just that. I mean, obviously you're spending $69 billion. There's just going to be a level of scrutiny that did not exist before. And I think what happened with that level of scrutiny is they've now gone through audits. They started with ABK, right? We saw the big cuts there. Now they're doing it with Bethesda. Next, they're probably going to do it with the other game studios, and I wouldn't be shocked to see another cut or
Makes
two.
a lot of sense. Yeah.
There
are reports, by the way, that there will be more cuts. If you all have not seen that, Bloomberg reports on that as well.
Yeah, and it's because they are systematically going through the entire gaming division, and they're trying to streamline it. And some of the things that have come out recently, you saw the leaked conversations from Booty, talking about, hey, we're and the person who's head over Bethesda basically saying like they're struggling. With their peanut butter, right? That whole analogy. They're peanut butter spread over bread, and they're struggling to run this stuff. And so I think what's happening right now is Microsoft's come in, done the audits. They're seeing that the product management is not where it should be. The production's not where it should be. They're behind their goals. And they're like, okay, how do we fix this? And anybody who's been at a corporation that's done this before, this is not uncommon. It's something normal that, when margins and production and everything are off, you start to streamline. You start to say, you know what, we're too spread too thin, we're too diluted. Let's narrow our focus. And they drive that by data. And unfortunately, what I think happened with Tango is they are just a victim of data from people that are reading it that don't understand the industry. Because you guys said it, like Hi-Fi Rush is not a game that was supposed to drive, millions of Game Pass subscribers. Like that's not why this thing exists in this model. The way that subscriptions work, you generally have your heavy hitters, your superstars, right? Your LeBron James or whatever of the subscription that really bring in the masses, and then you have the variety and the next tier, which is just there to kind of hold people. It's to keep them from churning, right? And so That's what a hi-fi rush is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be the thing that raises the tide for all the boats. It's supposed to be one of the little boats that gets raised. And instead, they threw hi-fi rush into the oncoming storm of no games after 2022, 343, down the shitter, ABK drama, and we're gonna just throw that thing out there into the ocean and like hope it like, and then behind it you had Redfall, which just dragged everything back down again. So it's like it was probably like obviously Tango didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing more they could have done, but all the surrounding factors was just nothing but mismanagement. Even the release, like if it's even the fact it's done, the goals, like these types of games should be releasing on the back of big games. Like they should be the thing that follows the Starfield, not the thing that leads up to it. And so it looks to me like this is what's happening today is very similar to what happened to Xbox back in the 360 generation when they went under Windows, and you had almost the same exact scenario. You had people that came in because Blacklee's talked about this, Ed Freeze has talked about this, Peter Moore's talked about this, like guys who are there when they built it up. Like really all the success of the 360 was from the guys from the team that really started the OG Xbox and were on the very, very front end. And then the 360 kind of rode the momentum of the decisions those people made. And then people came in and then eventually got big enough and profitable enough that, people came in from Windows and they put it under the Windows division in 2006. 2007. See, like people look at it like 2007, 2008 were some of the best years for Xbox ever, right? Like that's when they were releasing a lot of big games. But that's also when the Windows team started to cut studios and they go, well, this Mech Assault 2, it's like, like it's highly rated and people like it, but it's not really selling us consoles and it doesn't make us that much money. So we're going to cut that and we're just going to focus more resources to Halo, Gears, and Forza. This what was the Ensemble. Like Ensemble is like, like they make games that are really trending downwards, and so instead of trying to do something creative with this very talented studio, we're going to close them down. And again, in over time, it's like to the people in those top offices, it makes sense. The numbers seem to the data and the numbers tell them this is where you should put all your resources because these are the things getting you results, and these things on the side here, like they're highly rated and stuff and people like them, but they not getting results. And just like Blackley said, like I remember he said this after Sony's E3 Dreams, and he was talking about like how Microsoft was struggling to understand to get it, and this is when they were under Meyerson. He says you look at that game like The Last Guardian, said that's not going to sell a lot of stuff over there, but you saw that crowd there, right? You saw the fact that they had those types of games, they had a Last Guardian, and even though a lot of the stuff they were introducing they didn't necessarily land, like Shenmue 3 or whatever, but the fact that they were showing stuff like that, and you saw the super passionate like fans of these niches like going crazy over it, it sends a message like to even the fans that don't have any interest in buying those games, that hey, this is a brand that's exciting. This is something that they understand the customer. And so I am a bit concerned because I look at it like this doesn't just exist in a vacuum to me. Even though I like Tango, I really liked Evil Within 2. I was hoping for a 3. I really liked Hi-Fi Rush. They were one of my favorite. Like they were kind of representative of that whole thing that was being sold by Phil. But I am also worried for the future because I do expect them to have a few good years in these next few years. I do expect a lot of diversity because they have a lot of stuff in the pipeline. But again, there is a delay between like the strategy and the behaviors and the results, with game development, because it takes so long to make these things. It might be 4 years or 5 years before you fully feel the impact of what is happening now. But you can start to see things are starting to turn in that direction. And so, my only hope is that people that are, and I don't know that you can hold them accountable, especially as somebody like a Satya that sits up at the top of a $3 trillion company, like what are influencers going to do? But I do hope that this is the one time, I know sometimes we get on the case of media, whatever. This is the one time I do hope that media, influencers, fans, the enthusiasts do keep making noise about it. And I do hope you know, you're probably not going to bring Tango back, but I do hope that at least there's enough noise that continues to get made about it that they may reverse course and realize and try to figure out why people are mad at them. You know what I'm saying? So that's what, you know, I don't look at it as just being negative, you know, and just standing up here and grandstanding. I do think that there is an actual constructive reason why people should make some noise if you care. Now, maybe you are somebody out there, and this is the other side of it. Their strategy might be good for a lot of people who don't play the little niche things and the variety, and really they just want you to put all your resources into Call of Duty, make sure the BGS games, you know, you spin up a Fallout team and, you know, put all your resources into the bangers, quote unquote. And they really, there's people out there that, you know, maybe that is the better version of Microsoft for them. But if you're not on that side, then I think you're probably going to need to keep an eye on this thing, because even after probably what's going to be a great showcase, and you know, great, probably in the next couple of years, that we might start to see, you might start to see the results of a less innovative, less creative Microsoft gaming.
Okay. All right. Well, that was a mouthful right there. That's why I went.
OBM fashion.
That's why I went to OBM last, because I knew he was going to drop a lot of knowledge on us. Thank you for that, brother.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
You know, you're never going to have a short show and get out of here in 2 hours when you've had me on. So.
Anyway, it is what it is. So I got a few questions. Yeah. I guess I'll quick fire to you guys.
Well, hold on. Can I?
I do want to get to you. Yeah, I'm going to let you get yours, and I'll go to the quick fire questions to everybody. Go ahead. Go ahead, Daddy. Yeah. What were your thoughts when you originally saw this happen?
When I originally saw this happen, my very emotional, not intelligent reaction was that I kind of wanted to scream until I puked.
Yep.
And that wasn't that's not a productive way to move forward, but that was the feeling I had. This, to me, is the most clear and obvious example of a decision made from a spreadsheet. Yep. This is not a decision that you would make if you're looking at the ramifications of your decisions. This is not a decision that you would make if you're looking at the public opinion of the things that these studios have made. It's not a decision that you make if you compare that spreadsheet to what your stated goals in this industry are. There is no aspect of this decision that lines up with any of the guidelines that they have laid out as their motivating factors. There are entire documentaries about them making similar mistakes and pretending that they will not make them again in the future. There are reams and reams of tweets and speeches of people saying that this is exactly the kind of thing that they will never do again, and here we are watching them do it again. This is not an example of the creative, like Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond being beaten out by the money people. This is proof that Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond are the money people. They are not fighting hard enough to protect these studios, and if they are trying to fight, they are failing, and therefore deserve the smoke that they're getting. Every single person who's been getting smoke as a result of these layoffs deserves it. When Matt Booty came out, or not Matt Booty, who was it? Who said, "Oh, Phil Spencer is hurting as much as anybody else." Good,
oh, Mike Ybarra.
Good. I'm glad he is. I hope he is. I hope that he. I hope he can't sleep at night. I hope it feels like a stab to the gut, because that would be the only proof that he's a real human being. I hope that when he closes his eyes, he sees the faces of the thousands of people that he's laid off in the last year. I genuinely hope that. And I don't think he's a bad person, but I do hope this for him. I hope that this hurts him, because I don't want him to do it again. And that's the only way that it's not going to happen again.
I got a feeling I have a feeling he's on his way out. Is my gut.
I don't know, and I don't really care, because whoever replaces for him is going to be making the same spreadsheet decisions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
This is not
even, but
this is not. We are focusing a lot of. We as a community are focusing the entire hatred for this decision on Phil Spencer and Matt Booty and Sarah Bond, and they deserve it, absolutely. But this isn't just them. I want to make that perfectly clear. This is not just them.
Right.
This smoke needs to be shared. You need to be passing this smoke around like a drum circle. You need to be getting it to Amy Hood and Satya Nadella and Kathleen Hogan and anybody on that board.
Yep.
You give it to Terry List, give it to Hugh Johnson, give it to Reed Hoffman. There are dozens of people on this board. Give it to Penny Pritzker or Sandra Peterson. There are so many people who are making these decisions based on the numbers and not based on how those numbers react. They're looking at it like it's math, and it's not. It's biology, it's art. There's so much more to this story than this column isn't high enough. And they don't see that. They don't understand that because they don't care. These are decisions being made by people who have a dominant force in this industry, in an industry that they know nothing about. These are people who have never played a game, let alone made one. And they're telling these studios that they're not good enough, that they haven't performed well enough, even though they have. And if these people could even just look at the amount of awards that Tango has won over the years, they would know that. Even if they looked at the critical acclaim of the previous games before Redfall coming out of Arkane Austin, they would know that these are a terrible decision. This is absolutely a horrendous thing to do for seemingly no reason. This isn't a situation where they needed to do this to make ends meet. It's not. They're, even if they were in the red, which I by no means think they were, the only sector they were down in was hardware. By all accounts, they were making more money than ever in this quarter.
Record-setting months,
but
they
made this decision not for the betterment of the company, not for the longevity of the company. They made this decision because the people who are making the decision aren't planning on being here for long. The people on the board don't care about the longevity of Xbox or the longevity of Microsoft. They care about how much money they can make right now before they sell their stocks to somebody else and move on to some other company to fuck up. Like, that's how this works, unfortunately, and it's how it's always worked, and it's an absolute mess. It's a travesty. This is not something that we can fix because the people at the top don't care and they don't hear us. This isn't a situation where we can vote with our wallet and they will change their minds. This isn't a situation where if we stop buying games from Xbox, that they'll realize like, oh, we actually care about the people behind it. No, they'll just fire half the staff and then demand that the remaining half make up for the work loss. That's the kind of people we're dealing with. You can't vote with your wallet on this one. The best thing that you could do would be, I guess, to buy share, to like try and to not vote with your wallet, but to use your wallet to buy a vote. That's really the only thing you can do. But of course, they're not going to support that, right? No one's going to talk about how that is an option. Like, capitalism is the problem here, but it can also be the solution potentially. Is like, we need to get collective action into these studios. We need to get unions going in to protect these people. And also, there's only one way to change the leadership of a company, and that's to purchase it. Like, this isn't something that's going to happen. This is a pipe dream. But if the community could come together and like buy even 1% of these game companies that are making these decisions, then you get a seat at the table, and they won't see it coming, right? The have-alls will never expect the have-nones to become the have-sums. They will never see that coming. It's not a thing that they consider because they're so high in their towers that the 1% rounding error that comes off every time you buy a stock is nothing to them. They don't know, they don't care, right? Until they won't see you coming until you are sitting at the table with them. And at that point, that's the only way. So this isn't a situation where we can stop supporting them. You have to support the devs, even though that money isn't going to the devs. And it's this weird and awful catch-22 where it feels like there's nothing that we can do to stop it, because this is going to happen again, and it's going to happen as a result of these cuts. There's going to be a time, and I hope somebody takes this clip and shares it to Phil Spencer or shares it to Sarah Bond. There's going to be a time 4 years or 5 years from now where for some reason there's like a 6-month gap where there's no game coming out, and they won't hit their bottom line. They won't be able to, they won't hit the goals that they've set because there wasn't a game in that period, in that window. That pitfall that you guys are going to fall into, I just want you to know when you get there, that's the hole that would have been covered by Tango's game. That's the hole that would have been covered by Arkane Austin's game. This is a problem that you've created for yourself. Whatever rubric or measurement you are pretending to have used to have made this decision, I think you know that it's hollow. You made this decision not for the betterment of the company. You made this decision for the betterment of yourself. You made it because if you didn't make X number of dollars this month or this quarter, then you wouldn't get your bonus. And God forbid you not get your bonus. Your bonus is more important to you than 400, 500, hell, 2,000 people that you've laid off over the last 18 months. That's the truth of the matter. And you can pretend it's not, but it is. And I hope to God you feel bad. I hope you feel as bad as Mike Ybarra says you feel. I hope all of you wake up in a cold sweat from the horrible decisions that you've made. And also, I want it to be very clear that this is not an issue that is localized to Xbox. This is a industry-wide sickness. Like this is not a situation where, because I've seen this take online over and over and over again, where it's like, this is proof that Game Pass doesn't work. This is proof that their business model doesn't work.
Right.
They're making more money than ever. They're more successful than they've ever been in every single category except hardware, which is true across the board. Like even PlayStation is doing worse than they were expecting in hardware. Nintendo is starting to slip in hardware. Granted, that's probably because we know that there's a new one coming, but regardless, they're doing better than they have ever done in all software sectors across the board. This wasn't a decision that needed to be made to save money. This is not what that is. And let's say that we roll the dice on that and we say, oh, this was caused because Game Pass didn't make enough money. Then why did PlayStation lay off all their people?
Right.
Why did PlayStation close 4 studios in the last couple of years? Why did Take-Two close 2 studios while simultaneously buying another studio? Why did Embracer's layoffs actually kind of make sense. I'm not okay with them, but I understand why those ones happened, at least, because they weren't making Spider-Man money. They weren't making Grand Theft Auto money.
They overbought and didn't get investors.
Yeah,
right?
that was their. They were the only people in this ballpark who actually failed to play the game. Everyone else was doing very well and have decided to hamstring themselves in the future because I want my money now, because I'm going to sell my shares and I'm going to leave and it's going to be somebody else's problem. That is what happens in these publicly traded companies over and over and over again. We have seen this in gaming before. It hasn't felt this way before, but this has happened before and it will happen again because there's no way to stop it. This is how this system works. The only way that we could possibly stop it is by somehow re-privatizing these companies, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like,
so that was very impassioned. You guys, all three of you, all four of you rather, gave really great takes on this. Myself, I felt largely a lot like most of you guys. I didn't feel to the point of vomiting, but at the same time, I did feel terrible because I loved Hi-Fi Rush. I talked about it all the time. I played and beat it 4, maybe 5 times. Loved it. And the thought that such a great studio on their first game with Microsoft, and they turn out something that's award-winning, well-received, well-reviewed, even sold, I think, about 2 million, if not more, copies. And they're still gone. So that made me think, so who is safe then? What is safe? And that only leads us to the logical conclusion: the big dogs, the Halos, which is a tentpole of Xbox, the Call of Duties, which is the heavy money maker, the Diablos. What Microsoft did here is tell us that these smaller, diverse games and offerings that we were accustomed to is not the direction they're going forward with. At least it's not going to be the leading thing. And I don't know how exactly to take that, but it's problematic because that's not what they sold us on. Their vision was that you would get much more diversity here, and that even games like a Pentiment, for instance, could thrive and get a chance to get passion projects out. That Game Pass was sustainable and everything of that nature. Now, I'm not saying it's not, but when you see stuff like this, it's like, was it? But you're right, Danny. I think this was more so about, just capitalism. It's just greed, and what it comes down to, because they want that return on investment for this Activision buy. And that's, we talked about this before, and I've said it before. I didn't care for ABK. Now, I'm not mad that they got it, but that wasn't like, man, I'm glad we got ABK.
yeah.
Damn it, Lena! Couldn't you have a better case?
Damn you, Lena.
You failed. You failed Xbox. Game.
You should have fought us all harder. I know I was rooted against you, but damn you. but you know, that was Team Xbox then. Yeah, get him. You know, Lena, get out of here, right? But you know, you see stuff like this, and then it starts to kind of dawn on you as to why, you know, Lena Khan and all those people are there for.
You know what you need right now is the Denny Green press conference where, you know, after they got ABK, we find out they are who we thought they were.
Yeah.
And coincidentally for my Bears too. They are who we thought they were.
See, Umbra, I was with you, you know, and that was like the rationalization I was coming to. Until we hear the stupid, dumb motherfucker come out and say, oh, well, we want more smaller award-winning games. And then it doesn't make sense again.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Right? Like, they want the smaller games. What do you mean you want the smaller games? Why did
Smaller
you close
than
them?
Hi-Fi?
Yeah, he said he wanted more award-winning smaller games. It's like, well, you had that.
You had that.
And you did.
Well, they're probably looking at like Balatro and
smaller games.
Like there's been some big hits that have come from the indie.
Sure.
I mean,
Vampire
the fucking
Survivors.
Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, stuff like that.
And I wonder if I think there's a couple of things. It's probably you got a bunch of people that are just not on the same page, and I think that's always been a Microsoft
That sounds
thing.
about right. Yeah.
You know, especially with messaging. The other thing it could mean is that when they say small, they mean really small. Like maybe they're talking really small.
Maybe mobile.
So I am
$2 million
wondering.
budget.
Yeah, I'm wondering if, and this is probably a topic for a different show, but just really quick, I think maybe what could be happening is there's not room for like the bigger indie or the smaller AAA, like that in between AA, middle class type of game. I think maybe they look at it as it's too expensive to just keep doing a bunch of those, and it's also not going to be a needle mover. So you know, so I think they're probably looking at it like, hey, we need more Stranger Things, or we'll just do these really cheap things that don't cost us anything, and we don't really even care if they hit or not because they're so cheap. And that's probably, I'm guessing, that's probably what he's thinking, because they're looking at Balatro, they're looking at
the Vampire Survivors type. See,
yeah,
that makes sense.
All kinds of stuff, yeah.
And I think too, because we all know the Game Pass growth has stagnated, so I think they're looking for things that's going to really force people to get into Game Pass. But then that brings up the question, and I had this thought before. I've said it many times. I know some people were like, you don't know what you're talking about. They're going to do it. And this is a question to you guys on the panel. Everybody here, Fuzzy, you can start first. Do you think with this move here, did they kind of show you that sales really, really, really matter to them? This whole thought of, the number of unique people that played it is a success. I don't think that's Microsoft. And I say this, by the way, to elaborate to the Mike Ybarra thing. I was a little on the opposite end of that, Danny, because I do get what you're saying. You're not wrong. However, I was kind of like Will said, Mike. I had some people like, oh, you bootlicker. And I'm like, okay, all I said was that he gave a nuanced take. And I'm not or at least excusing Phil or team, but I believe this was a move above Phil and team. And that's why you haven't heard a peep from Phil since that happened. This was done by people over.
Yeah, he's usually in front of it, isn't he? Like he's usually like day one. Bad news comes out, he sends out a tweet, and you know, and I know it's like hollow words at this point, and people have said, well, they just be hollow words, and people, but he's always still done that, and this feels different.
This feels different. Like, you could tell this was like, I think this was a move. They said, nope, we're doing it. I don't care what you're talking about. This is happening, and I believe that's what it was. It just because it goes, it's antithetical. It is exact opposite of basically of, and I said it right the first time, but I don't want to mess the word up, but it's the exact opposite of the vision that they laid out and that he was, what they had preached. So I know this is not a move that Phil and team had actually said, this is what we got to do now. This was forced upon them. Sarah Bond looked drained in the interview that we were talking about a while ago. You can see it's taking a toll on all of them. Now, that said, I'm sure they'll be crying until they're millions too, right? So I get people who are saying like, yeah, so what, they feel bad, right? Yeah, boo-hoo, all these people just lost their jobs. And I get it 100%. And you're not wrong if you say that. But this again is, I think, it's a Microsoft issue, and that's the worry I have, is that Microsoft is going to come in and muck things up. So my question to you guys is, with this move, and I'm saying, and again, I've been saying this for a long time, do you think Call of Duty is actually going to go to Game Pass?
They already confirmed it.
They just said it again today.
They just made sure to confirm it. Now, so since that is the question,
all of the games, including Activision, will be coming day one.
Now this
Said it again today. Said it earlier last year.
Now,
They said it under oath.
So here's my question to you guys, since you just confirmed that.
Yeah.
Do you think there will be a tier system to add Call of Duty to this? Because I believe they want to make more. That's what I mean. A tier system to make a higher price rank for the more premium experience.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if there's basically you have to be on Ultimate to get Call of Duty, and I think
you do. Like, to play online, you need Ultimate. So
that's true.
It's so what? What are you gonna do? Get regular Game Pass to play the campaign?
Well, I think that. So here's the thing, because we talked a little bit earlier about that virtual console, about Microsoft merging everything PC. At some point, they have to figure out how to get people to stay on, because right now 80% of their subscriptions, based on some information that's been out there, is the Ultimate tier, and that's mostly coming from console gamers, because I think most of the console gamers that do get Game Pass do get the Ultimate. It makes sense, obviously, especially if you have gold. So they do have to figure out a way to merge PC and console. PC players don't pay for online, so what is the value of Ultimate there? That number one, and then number two is also, like, you're just going to eventually have to get rid of it on console, because it's going to seem very stupid that you're going to have suddenly this virtual Xbox that's going to be sitting on PC next to Steam, next to all the other stores, and your store charges people to play online, and nobody else is. People are going to go to the other stores to buy your games, even if they come there as Xbox customers at that point. So they will have to get rid of it, and I think one of the ways they could do it is use Call of Duty as sort of that bridge, because people that are going to play it on Xbox, or who are going to play it through, like you're saying, if you're going to play it on Xbox through Game Pass, it's going to probably be an Ultimate tier, because you're going to need gold, or whatever they call it these days. But now on PC, you can use that as a way to merge them. Right now, you can say PC players, if you want it, you got to be on Ultimate.
So I believe the case
If they do that, it has to be this year. They have to do it this year. Get rid of gold this year, put it in Ultimate, call it a day. Right?
Well,
I think that would be a win.
So my belief is that then, since you all are saying that they just confirmed it in today's interview, that Call of Duty will be launching day and date.
They didn't outright say the words Call of Duty. They said the whole slate of games we develop.
Okay, when I hear them say it certain ways, then I get worried again. But let's just assume that they are. I'm thinking that'll be a tiered system, and again, that they'll have a higher tier system to be more expensive for Game Pass with it, because I just don't believe that they want to lose out on the sales of Call of Duty versus subscription numbers. That they want that. I think they want that return on investment, and Call of Duty brings in billions a year. So
and they might just increase the price of Ultimate. I do agree with you, though. I think they're going to increase the price somehow. Yeah. Somehow they're going to get more money from you.
So let me transfer this
with Call of Duty as well. Most of the money is from microtransactions. It's not really from they make a lot from the direct sales. Don't get me wrong, but most of the bulk of the money made is from the in-game sales. They may see an increase in profitability with Game Pass, not a decrease.
So this is my next question to you guys, and Fuzzy, I want to go to you on this. Legacy Killer, shared this on Twitter, and it led me to Mike. Well, I had this question before him, but just to read this first. He says, each upcoming Xbox project has a file report like this. Matt Booty leadership experience. State of Decay 3 report details troubled development and alleged failures at Studio Undead Labs. Then you have Fable development is slow due to Playground's inexperience with RPGs, says former designer. Since its announcement in 2020, the upcoming Fable reboot hasn't had much in terms of updates, and one former designer may have the reason why. That one, I believe, was kind of debunked, so I don't really use that one. Xbox Perfect Dark reboot is still in very rough state, claims Insider. Now, this was
I've heard opposite.
That was Jeff Grubb.
Jeff Grubb recently spoke on this, so and he's fairly reliable. It is what it is.
He is, and I like Jeff, and he is very reliable.
Yeah.
But there's been the thing that happens, because we saw this with the Undead Labs thing before too, because they were in dev hell and had a lot of issues, and then they fixed the issues and they got rid of the lead left, and they got a new leadership, and they apparently, by the time the article came out, like, they were saying that things were now back on track, supposedly, at that time. And I know Jez has said that game is now back on track. Same thing. I'm theorizing something similar has happened with Perfect Dark, because it definitely did go through dev hell at some points. But I've heard from multiple people that would know more than probably all of us, but that they're pretty confident about it. So
They're pretty confident.
Yeah. So, like, I think that it's, I think it's either a delayed thing or it could just be the people at the studios do think it's in good shape, and then they're not getting to see what's going on at Crystal, and maybe Crystal's struggling more than they're letting on or something. Who knows? It could be that too.
So,
but I would take that one with a grain of salt right now.
So we had also the other one, Everwild, was reportedly an action adventure with game elements, but it's been rebooted. We heard all of us heard about that one. So my question to you, Fuzzy, is, and to all of you guys after Fuzzy, is, if you had to go off anything right now, just by the news of these closures and probably more to come, with Microsoft seemingly stepping in, just on our conjecture, of course,
right,
and then kind of seeing failures like this in some of these cases, not all of these slides here were accurate. Do you think, and do you guys think, Phil Spencer or Matt Booty need to be replaced? And that goes to our question earlier, where you were talking about the having seen these dreams and visions come true through who the leadership is and taking care of it earlier, OBM. So, but do you think, Fuzzy, that there needs to be some type of shakeup there between them, one of the two, or both?
I'm hesitant to say so, and the main reason why is with Matt Booty, yes, I think something needs to be looked at as far as looking at what he was in charge of with Xbox game studios. A lot of the ones that he was in charge of before the promotion weren't quite hitting milestones on a timely manner or on a regular fashion. But like I said earlier, be careful for what you wish for. I'm only hesitant on the Phil removal aspect, because you remove Phil, and I don't think these most recent decisions are his completely. And that's going to sound silly. He's the head of Microsoft Gaming, but like people have said before, typically how it works is you have to make 7% in cuts. You figure it out. That's when it's in his hands, but he still has to make the 7% cuts. But he's being told he has to make those 7% cuts, and we see what the fallout was. Now, were those the easier of the 7% or whatever the case may have been? We'll never know. But I think you move him out, you take the gamer out, somebody that's worked with these teams and has at least the understanding of how gaming works. Are you able to get somebody that's within the walls of Microsoft that's in a high enough position to replace him, it's familiar with gaming? Or do you get an outsider that's familiar with gaming, or do you get another suit? And the fear I have is if it's going to be another suit, no, leave him be. I mean, if he's just a dare I say, puppet at this point, then it is what it is. Whether you move him out or not, it's not going to make a damn bit of difference. But the minute you move him out and you get a suit in there and they hear the 7%, they might just go even more willy-nilly. Like we say, it looks like it's just like an Excel sheet type of thing, and it was willy-nilly. Maybe there was some method to the madness, or maybe it was dictated what the method had to be. But you put a suit in there, and I can guarantee you it's going to be all Excel sheets from there on forward. And the social media aspect, which, yes, he's been extremely silent, which is not usual, but I can understand as they transition to whatever they're becoming now. But it's I'm hesitant to say bye, Phil. I'm definitely not saying bye, Sarah, but she looked like she was having some uncomfortable moments
She
with the
did.
interview. So that's to be expected, considering she's probably like, and I don't want to make
It's
this
not
sound
even
like
over
it's
the
like,
studios, right? Like, so that, yeah, like
yeah,
It looks like they didn't
she's
even prepare her for an
Exactly.
obvious question that was going to
he was
happen.
deleting tweets the day they. So like, yeah, you wonder
Yeah.
how much she even was in the loop. I don't know. I mean, it's just
Yeah, and,
you're right.
and that's the thing. It's like if the decisions are made outside of her, as far as for Xbox, like if you're in charge of the hardware, you're only in charge of the hardware and the hardware related systems. If the software falls on the booty, then whatever he's doing or whatever Phil's doing is going to affect you. But it doesn't seem like she's a part of that decision making aspect of it. And that's the fear of like, well, move her out. No, don't. But then I don't know. I know a lot of people have a certain feeling about Booty. I look at it as at this point, if he's not the pit bull, like yeah, his spicy email from the court case, that was great. Spend him out of business, whatever. That's cool. If you have that dog attitude, where is it at the studios when they're like, hey, we should show this at the showcase? We're not ready yet. I'm sorry. I'm your boss. Why aren't you ready yet? Why can't you get this ready in 2 weeks? Like that's
He definitely
you're
had
not
a.
going to be that guy,
Yeah.
and you're supposed to be the crunch guy. That's when you need to get up out of there. If you can't get your teams inspired to get their job done on time.
He definitely felt kind of lackadaisical when he kept hearing them talking. He's like, oh, they want to show. They don't want to show anything now. And he was like, it looked like it's ready. And they like, nope. And told him no. I'm like, you the boss.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? They told you no. Like, I want to see this game.
Yeah, I've not been Booty has not impressed me.
Now, to be fair, we don't know the inner workings. Now, I say that without, because once we
Right,
saw
right.
those transcripts from such from in the court situation, we saw Matt Booty was much more of a shark than we thought he was. So
Yes.
maybe,
But does that
you know?
mean anything in that position? Like, I feel like when you're in that position, the things that are important, and again, I'm not in Microsoft, so maybe I'm making wrong assumptions here, but
Yeah.
it feels like what's not important there is how much of a shark you are and how much you want a console war and everything. What really matters in that position is, how good is the communication between, you and the studios? Like, do you really have a good handle on where your pipelines and roadmap is at? Or do you know how to coordinate this stuff? Do you have good project managers? Do you have the right people stepping in early enough, when things aren't going according to plan? And to me, that is when you start asking those questions, the answer has continuously been no. And I don't like Booty seems fine. Like, like he seems like a guy that, like wouldn't mind, shooting the shit with or having a beer with. But in terms of like him as when you start thinking about what's important in those roles, you think about Halo and as like, wait, how did that demo get out there? Nobody saw this. You hear about all the miscommunication that happened with 343. And then I at the time I was like, you know what, maybe we'll
That's
give
a
him a
big
little
one.
pass because he came in late in that process. He came in, I think, in 2018. So I'll give him a little pass. But then you just keep seeing
You little
you heard the
cracks.
stuff with Undead, and it's like, yeah, the guy
Yep.
finally got it back. But you know what? They wasted time, right? Initiative, like I just said, like it's better now, but it's probably not coming out for a couple of years, and that's a long, long time. That means, why did it? How much time did you wait?
Redfall even.
Well, he
Well,
wouldn't be
There's-
part of the
Now-
Redfall wasn't
was
his.
Pete.
That's
That was
it's
Pete
largely Bethesda, right? But
Yeah.
there's no way in the world that should have gotten out there without somebody seeing that, even beyond Bethesda.
Yeah.
Like, how does that get greenlit? And nobody's like, oh, okay, wait a minute, hold on, that looks wrong. Same thing with Halo, like you pointed out. That's a prime example because we had to in real time tell them this game doesn't look right. So I say all that to say, let me read these two super chats really quick. Thank you, Spartan 661. He gave a $2 donation. He said, why can't I give people memberships? And as I replied to you in the chat, brother, thank you. We haven't enabled memberships yet because we want to come up with something worthwhile to give memberships. Like, I want to have something that me and Danny, we could plot out to to make it worthwhile to have. I don't believe in just like, oh, we just memberships, just be a member. Like, let's give you something for that, for you all actually subscribing and being a member, right? I would like to do that. So we're brainstorming on some stuff for that, and I'll enable it once we have something solid. He gives another $5 donation. He says, I'd like to pay it forward to the others that made me a member on other channels that led me to you guys. It's the least I can do for you guys. Thank you, brother. That's really, really nice of you. We really appreciate you. Thank you. You being here right now, and even what you just gave here with the money you gave was well more than enough. So thank you. We appreciate you. Ham, what's up, brother? So if you guys are not looking at your screen, check this out here, because this is a bit of a, I don't want to say breaking news, but it's something that was shared recently from Ryan McCaffrey. And Crusader, I'm going to go to you with this. He's the new.
Where is this?
If you look at the, I guess.
Oh, in the.
Yeah, the main screen of So he says new column from me on IGN is called Phil Spencer and the Battle for Xbox's Soul. Now that goes to I already know where he's going with it, and that's what we were talking about, where we can tell this is some Microsoft influence over him that's forcing a lot of these moves. And so he says, I talked to 2 longtime Xbox employees and included their thoughts in this, as well as my own, in trying to sparse through this crazy week. I hope you guys give it a look. Now, this is the article. One highlighted part is that he says that both the employees lamented that the current state of business. One told him prior to this week's awful studio closures that he had a lengthy conversations with a bunch of Xbox founders, and we all came to the same conclusion. It's no longer Xbox, but Microsoft Gaming. Ouch.
I think it's been that since the buy. Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
Yeah, so I think you might be right about that too. And I think, again, this just goes to, let me go to the actual article. This, I think, just goes to the fear I had, at least specifically, that Microsoft is going to have. They've stepped in themselves and are now forcing moves. This is why I said I didn't really put a lot of that on field, because I don't think this is just wasn't in line and step with what the vision they talked about. You could see it even the last time when he had to talk about that, when the 4 games went over. You could see this energy was off. Like, he didn't want to do that, but was put in a position where he had to. So I don't know. So let me read some of this and then I'll go to you, Crusader. He says, stop me if you heard this one before. Xbox stepped on the rake again.
It's the fucking sideshow bump.
For the umpteenth time in the past decade, Microsoft has found itself on the wrong end of bad news.
That's
While you guys are doing that, I'm gonna go feed my cats. They're yelling at me. I'm like almost an hour overdue.
Okay, brother. Yeah, we'll be closing up soon. I just want to try to see if we can catch the stream back again. I think it's back. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Is it back?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't tell.
Did everybody go home?
It looks like
I'm
it's
gonna
back.
refresh the YouTube. Are we back? Chat, are we back?
Are we back, chat? Let me see.
All right.
Yeah, we're back.
The party all went home.
Yeah,
But anyway.
sorry about that, guys. OBS, for the first time ever, completely just closed on us. Like, completely. Just shut off. As if they didn't want us to get the truth out. Okay, so I'll quickly.
You're asking.
You
about
want me to?
rakes.
Yeah.
You want me to? Do you want me to talk about the rakes and everything here?
Yeah,
So-
please.
So I do think there is definitely a huge element of Microsoft's upper board and upper management wanting a return from this, and I think that's definitely the root cause of a lot of this. But I also think that there is a lot of incompetence from within the Xbox management. I think some of it stems from Phil. Phil has a track record of doing some things well and some things not. And he one of his good things, that at least prior to any of this, was he was very good at pivoting and being reactionary and, you know, maybe not doing something right in the first go, but kind of at least getting it to a place where it was solved and good. But Matt Booty, I have absolutely zero faith in. And my man spelled 2 of the 4 companies wrong that he was closing in his email. And, like, how the fuck do you send out a company-wide blast, spell 2 of your subsidiaries wrong, and they're subsidiaries you're closing, and it's likely the first time these people have heard that they're closing. And guess what? You're not even, like, spelling their company name right. You're not even showing them any form of dignity.
That is pretty
Any
crazy.
form of respect. That, like, You mean nothing to them. He doesn't even know who you are enough to spell your company name right. Like it's so incredibly fucked. So like I don't know if Phil should go or not. I couldn't actually tell you. But I can tell you Matt Booty needs to go.
Yeah.
Like I am certain of that. That like my man has failed upwards multiple times, and I think they were just afraid to replace him. And now they're at a point where he's a manager who says that like their resources are spread too thin. And it's like, my brother in Christ, you spread the resources too thin years ago. Why did you not solve this problem? Why did you not foresee this problem? And you wanted to outspend Sony and spend them out of the market, but you didn't know how to actually run everything once you spent all the money. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, you dumb motherfucker? Like, I'm sorry. It's just, it's the most maddening thing. Like, every time he opens his mouth and like, do you guys remember that business update they did in March? How could people forget the business update in March? Phil said some things, you know, about how like they're not planning to change stuff. And then during the video, if you watch, Matt Booty says things that are completely like contradictory to what Phil had said in front of him. It's nonsense. Like no one is on the same page about anything. No one knows what each other's doing. Like I don't understand how you can run a business like that. That's not like 12 people.
They do seem a little disjointed at times, I will acknowledge. Same thing that happened with Pete Hines at that time. I remember a bit of that.
It's ridiculous.
So I want to read this quickly, and then I'll just
Sure.
get you guys' thoughts really quick, and we can try to wrap it up. So again, he says he spoke to two former longtime Xbox employees separately, and both lamented the current state of the business. One told him prior to this week's awful studio closures, he had a lengthy conversations with a bunch of Xbox founders, and we all came to the same conclusion: it's no longer Xbox, Microsoft Gaming. The other chatted with me at length about the Bethesda bloodbath, and believes that Xbox is now too big to quickly or easily get its house in order. There is just too much surface area. You have effectively three huge companies at play, and Microsoft never really finished the integration with Bethesda, and Activision is like 3 times the size Xbox was. They added Xbox 360 launch with a few hundred people. Last I heard, Xbox is now almost 30,000 people. Sheesh.
Something fucking nuts. It is. You know, the thing is, they were Microsoft Gaming the day they announced ABK. They actually restructured the company. If you would look at the structure before and after, you could tell they became Microsoft immediately. What we were all hoping though, like, because I accepted that fact, and I accepted that the whole reason why, you know, like the Xbox didn't get closed down to begin with was that they Satya bought into this bigger vision where gaming did fit into the greater company, and it did sort of advance some of their other goals. But we had always hoped that even with it being a Microsoft S division, that it'd be different this time, and they'd be smarter this time, and they'd be listening to the people that actually understood the industry. But it's clear that becoming Microsoft, you just can't help it. It's going to be, it's just, they are who we thought they were, right? Yeah. So we're just back to that again. So, but yeah, I mean, that nobody, I'm trying to think about this, because one of the, we do, they've absolutely not managed things well, and then we can go through that list over and over, but we're going to want to get out of here, so I won't. Yeah. But the simple fact is that I can't think of anybody that was going to, I don't know who the person out there was going to come in here and run 30 plus studios that are all doing different things, you know, with different game engines, and, you know, need to have
part of the problem I had with Matt Booty. I felt like, you think he can handle all that? I don't think so.
The whole structure, a
pyramid. You gotta put them into different buckets, and you have this person's in charge of these, this person's in charge of these, and then like those 3 people who are in charge of, like, let's say you have RPGs. Like 1 person for 3 studios, right? Yeah. And then you have another person for 3 studios. You have another person for 3 studios. So you have 10 people. You then split those 10 people up into 2 to 4 groups, and you have them under someone. And you just create a nice nested structure. And that someone that they're under is also looking at all of the studios, but they're not looking at any of the individual ones as closely as like the specific people. And you can create a structure like this and manage it efficiently. They just failed to do so utterly.
So let me read the rest of this because that goes into what we were talking about, where it felt like speculation, but now you're hearing more where it's confirmation here, at least from the rumored people that work there. It says, and that growth has led to, in this Xbox veteran's opinion, increased oversight and meddling from further up the Microsoft food chain. The reason this seems so inconsistent with previous Xbox leadership team statements is that these decisions probably aren't being made by Phil. This is all getting dictated by Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella and Microsoft CFO Amy Hood, and it all stems from the Activision acquisition. The long-tenured Xboxer continued. The situation Xbox was in when they made this call was much different. They couldn't keep consoles in stock, making money hand over fist with Game Pass growth. The Activision acquisition seemed like a no-brainer. It says now console sales are down, post-COVID recession, Game Pass slowing, the acquisition was more costly and time-consuming than anyone expected, and the focus on fighting the FTC probably cost them time they would have spent thinking through the people and studio implications. Finally, it says, well, I 100% believe this is a board-level decision. Xbox was a huge profit center, so Satya approved a huge merger. Now games are slowing and Microsoft stock is skyrocketing, and there is no way that Satya is going to let that Xbox drag it down. This is all my opinion, of course, but I'm fairly certain these are not decisions being made by Xbox leadership. That's not to absolve Spencer for his role in all of this. Unlike the tone deaf, won't someone think of the multimillionaire exec? I already know who he's talking about when he says that. Danny, he says, won't someone think of the multimillionaire executive's response of
Will someone please
former
think of
Xbox higher up Mike Ybarra? He is, after all, the person in charge of the entire organization. The buck stops with him. The Bethesda and Activision Blizzard acquisitions happened on his watch. As such, he is no more shielded from criticism for being, by most accounts, including my own, a nice guy than the star professional athlete is for underperforming on the field, court, despite regularly signing autographs for kids before games. But no matter who's to blame for the weight of Activision Blizzard seemingly tipping Xbox's scales out of balance, it is now fair to wonder if and how Spencer can save Xbox's soul. Is Xbox a gaming brand that means anything to gamers anymore? Can it stand toe-to-toe with Sony and Nintendo? And if the answer to those questions is yes, then what defines Xbox? Is it Xbox Game Pass? Is it big exclusive franchises like Halo, Forza, Gears of War, Fable, and maybe, should they end up being exclusive, The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and Doom? Is it gaming anywhere seamlessly through PC, mobile, cloud, and handheld support that's invisible to the end user? Can it be all of these? Should it be all of these? Or does Xbox then become a jack of all trades, master of none? After all, when you think of either PlayStation or Nintendo, you arguably think of one thing and one thing alone: consistently incredible exclusive games. That's it. So, all of that said, and I do want to wrap it up here, but I'll ask one last question. Just you all can, I guess, kind of just answer really quick, and we can get out of here. I think I kind of asked. I think I've exhausted all the questions I had, actually.
Just everybody remember, corporations do not have souls. Ryan, that
Yeah.
was a little cringy of a title, but anyways, yeah, that's all.
I think honestly, I've asked all the questions I want to ask, and I think we got a little more enlightenment here from Ryan's article. I'll just say this, I guess. I mean, no doom and gloom. I know some people are very, sensitive to all of that, and we're not here to spread doom and gloom, but we definitely have to speak on the realness of on a bad situation. And we wouldn't be right. We wouldn't be men of integrity if we sat here and just lied to you and told you what you wanted to hear. So, for those who stuck through and heard us out, kudos to you guys. We thank you. But we'll get out of here because I don't want to drag it on further because I have to get going myself. And I do want to thank you guys for sticking through with all of this because there was a lot to talk about. And I feel like it's even more I still could have asked you guys, but it'll take all day if I still do that. So I'll start with you, Fuzzy, brother. Thank you for coming through and being here with us tonight. Tell the good folks where they can find you and what you'll be up to.
Oh, just thank you for having me on here. It was awesome being on here with you guys and just discussing this and talking this out. Like, yeah, it's been weighing on my mind, but like, yeah, I'm hoping June makes me forget. and I have a feeling we'll at least forget part of the stuff, but we'll see how that goes. But for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also see all the posts for other podcasts I'm on and stuff like that. But great discussion, guys. Greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you. Crusader, my brother, thank you for joining up with us again. Always a blast to have you. You were very.
I love getting loud.
You. I was going to say you were very energetic tonight. Yeah, but you know, we needed that energy though. I think this called for it. You know, to give them that.
So,
yeah,
I'm a big believer in catharsis. That yelling, as long as you are doing it in a non-destructive manner, it's very good to yell and be loud and feel sad. As long as you're not letting it get to you in a significant way, it can help let things out. And I feel better now that I've yelled tonight.
Oh, there you go.
But you know, you can find me on Crusader3456 on most social media platforms, on Xbox, where I have, you know, people who think I'm real mad at Xbox. I must hate Xbox. I have 500 Xbox games that I own digitally. With Game Pass, it brings up to 900 games that are available to me.
Talk that ass. Talk that.
Like, I'm the last person in the world who wants the hardware to die. I'm the last person in the world who wants them to fail, because that fucking takes a lot of my hard-earned money and investment away from me. I just get that's why I get so passionate and mad.
Yep.
But you know, you can find me on all those platforms, and if you or a friend or anyone in chat, like, just reach out. If you want some help with some Destiny content, like some dungeons or exotic missions or stuff before the new expansion, I am down to help anyone right now. It is kind of like a therapeutic thing for me to go out into especially in the Xbox community, to go out and like just play with people and help them get things that they never thought that they were going to get. So anyone, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. We'll set up a time and we'll get some stuff done. We'll get some gaming in.
Yes, I have to put you guys' credentials down below. I'll take care of that later, and as well as putting timestamps and such. And of course, one bad mother, shut your mouth. Thank you, brother, for your wisdom. And, you know, I know you got some insider knowledge. If you guys didn't know, OBM is an insider. Spread the word. Spread the word. Harass him online.
I don't ever want that kind of. That's a tough life to live, man.
It is. I've seen it. I've talked with people who go through it. And some take it on, you know, with strength. I mean, look at Nick, right? Nick, I think he kind of likes it, but you have some who don't.
I think he likes when people give him shit.
I think so too.
That's why I do.
He's Aussie. They're different. Yeah, they're built different, right?
It's a different kind of human,
for sure.
You know?
But brother, tell the good people where they can find you and what you'll be up to, and what you know. I don't know if it's up with your channel. You were doing to do some things with that, but
yeah, no, I've been doing some things behind the scenes. I'm hoping within the next month. That's kind of the goal, but it's been a long time. It's just things go pretty slow when it comes to learning how to do all the stuff you need to do by yourself. Because I wanted to put together higher production value videos.
Definitely understand.
Yeah. So part of it is just, you know, passion, just hobby. So I really want to learn how to do it the right way, and been taking a little bit longer because that's what happens when you got, you know, kids, a job, and these two damn cats that are fighting while I'm talking to you right now because I'm overdue. They way overdue. They should have been fed almost an hour ago, and they're pissed. So if you want to follow me right now though, on Twitter is mother_1 MUTHA_ONE. Other than that, man, it was a great time, and had a good time talking with everybody here today. So thanks for the invite.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you. And last but not least, of course, not the illustrious, infamous host star, Daniel J. McGee. Danny, thank you, brother, for your impassioned speech earlier. Not speech, but I don't want to say it like that. Your impassioned thought on the situation, of course. And because I think you summed it up well. Like, you summed it up enough where I didn't have to go into details of my own, really. I think you spoke well enough where all of us felt, you know, this type of emotion on the loss of these people with their jobs, because that's ultimately the human factor matters more than anything else. And some people laugh them off and dismiss them, which is just ridiculous, considering that these creatives craft worlds that we sit here and enjoy. Like, I don't understand how you can laugh somebody off like that. I really don't get it. That's sick. But you gave a great thought on that, and tell the good folks where they can find you and what you'll be up to.
He's on mute.
Oh, are you muted, Danny?
Did Danny just fall asleep?
Whoa.
Oops.
Sorry,
There
I
you
was,
go.
I was
No,
talking. He could have fallen asleep.
I did forget that I had muted myself. No, yeah. So you can find me on Twitter at Daniel J McG or at my personal YouTube channel of Daniel McG. All of our stats have been dropped into the chat by Yodani. Thank you very much for that, Yodani. I, as just one little parting thought, I do hope that going forward, that the media keeps pressing on Xbox leadership about this.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that the next time Phil Spencer is sat down in an interview, I hope the first question is, what was the metric by which these studios were closed?
Yep.
I want to know the statistical reason why these things were closed, and I don't want some fluff answer. I really hope that that's the case. I hope that when we see footage from the fan fests, I hope that the people there are speaking to Phil about this. They're speaking to the team about this. I hope that they show up wearing Hi-Fi Rush gear, and when they look out to the crowd, it's nothing but just paper masks of Chai and team.
Yeah, Redfall
there would
characters and such.
There would be nothing that made me happier than seeing that. It is totally fine to love this industry and even to continue loving Xbox and still drag them for this. When I spoke earlier about being glad that Phil and Sarah felt bad about this, I didn't mean that in a way of like, good, I want them to feel bad. I don't mean that in a way of like, this is what they get. What I mean is that's the proof that they are good people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they were able to make these calls and walk away like nothing happened, that would be a real problem.
Yeah.
These sorts of decisions need to hit you hard. They need to take you out at the knees, because if they're not, then you're going to do it again. So while we are mad at Phil Spencer right now, and we should be, he's also the person we need in this position.
Yep.
So just understand that you are able to believe that somebody is the right person for the job, and that you're able to like somebody and still be upset with them for a decision that they made.
Absolutely.
Like, these two things are not exclusive. So when you see somebody online who is calling out one of these people, or who is, defending one of these people, it's not that serious. Like, you do not need to be getting into fights with other people about the way they feel about this situation. It's a complex situation, and we all need to be better to each other.
Well said. Well said. Yeah. So for myself, of course, you can find me as Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite on Twitter X, and you'll find me either way. Obviously Tuesdays at Boom's Xbox Factory at 12 o'clock Eastern, here at 8 o'clock Eastern. Tomorrow on the Infinite podcast, we'll actually be interviewing by myself, Brisket for the Biscuit, that blue number, and Spriggan, aka Dante. We'll be interviewing an actual employee of Arkane Austin. So yeah, so definitely come through. Natasha Hugh will be there with us tomorrow, and we're going to keep it really professional and ask her some questions about this, and be, of course, sensitive to the things, because we don't want to try to get her in trouble or anything. So we want to make sure to keep it right. But thank you guys, all of you who are here and that came through to support us. If you haven't done so, please hit the like button before you leave, and take your shoes off next time you walk in the house. No, I'm joking. But thank you guys. You all have a good night, and we will see you next week.